Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Welcome to the first annual NFL Kickoff Funslinger edition. We're going to kick off the NFL season here at Fearless in a very special way. We have special guests in studio with us. Brett Favre, Warren Sapp, two NFL Hall of Famers, two of the greatest players of all time. Seth Joyner, great player on one of the great Philadelphia Eagles defenses. One of my best guys I work with when I was at Fox Sports. These guys are in town to help me talk about tonight's NFL kickoff, Chiefs and Lions, and just about the NFL season on the whole. But also, we have another special guest. Sage Steele is in studio with us to help us kick off the NFL. And so,
this is amazing.
Yeah,
wow.
We're starting with a little bit of a warm-up before we get to these all-time great football players and get deep down into a discussion about the NFL season. Sage is actually going to be back with me tomorrow. We're going to go in depth in a long-form interview, just Sage and I one-on-one about her career at ESPN and what's next. We'll share stories about ESPN. We'll go in depth with Sage on tomorrow's show, probably for about 2 hours. There's a lot to discuss that only, I think, me and Sage, from a media perspective, can talk about the kind of things we'll talk about tomorrow. But today, we're going to celebrate football. We're going to talk about the NFL season upcoming. And TJ Moe, Steve Kim, the Korean Cosell, both in studio with me today to help us kind of warm up the conversation a bit. And so we're going to start with, I think, the most obvious question, I think, for a lot of sports fans is, as enthusiastic as we are right now, does that match our normal level of enthusiasm for the NFL season? I know for me personally, I'm not as excited as I used to be. The game has gotten soft, and I can't wait to talk with some of these all-time great players about how the game has gone soft. Some of the social justice messaging is off-putting to me. The bowing to the alphabet mafia, off-putting to me. And so, you know, normally the first night of the NFL season, and I've watched a dozen preseason games, and I'm all fired up. And I mean, it's the Chiefs. The Chiefs are my favorite team. I know I'm wearing a Cowboys Romo jersey. It's the only jersey I had other than a Ball State jersey, and I didn't want to wear my Ball State jersey in here like a fool. But I'm just not as excited. And I would say, you know, 10 years ago, first night of the NFL, on a scale of 1 to 100, my excitement level was at 101. Today, it's at 76. Sage?
76.
Yeah. It's about a 25% drop in my excitement level for the NFL.
Sapp's already chiming in back there. I'm higher than that. First of all, I don't watch preseason, and I should, but it's annoying because you get your guys in there for how long? Half of one quarter if you're lucky. Now that it's only 3 games, I mean, to me, it's somewhat of a waste. I like watching Hard Knocks. I like seeing the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And by the way, I was covering the Baltimore Ravens, who were the first team ever on Hard Knocks in 2001, coming off their Super Bowl season. So to me, the story is in the locker room and, you know, a little bit off the field in the preseason. So here we go. I would say excitement level for me is 85.
80, but
Yeah.
it used to be higher, though.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It did. But I do think it's important to, for me, to compartmentalize. Because there's all kinds of crap that the league has done that I don't like, I don't agree with. But I still think there's so many men who are giving it up, who actually don't agree with that stuff. But as we all know, we have bosses, and sometimes we don't have a say in how things are done. And I respect what they are doing, many of them, despite what they're told they have to say or what jerseys they have to wear. You know, I think I'm trying to respect those guys because they're giving it their all every single time.
Korean Cosell.
I'm probably at about a 75. And I used to be at about 125. You have to understand, back when I was much younger, I'd say like early 90s, my football season would begin probably the 3rd week of June. Because, and I'm going to date myself, I used to go into like a Walden's bookstore at the Montebello Town Center when they used to have bookstores. And then it was really at that point the magazines would come out. Street and Smith, Athlons, Sporting News still is doing their. Sports Illustrated would come out much later. And I would literally probably buy, between college and pro, about 12 magazines, 6 each. I would just tear through them. And the summer months would just grind by. And come August, as the summer camps or the fall camps would start for the various teams, it felt like Christmas. It really did. Nowadays, a little older, I don't think sports has quite the appeal, having been at ESPN, kind of seeing how the sausage is made. But, my interest in sports is really interesting. Look, I cover boxing for a living. That's where I make most of my money. Now that I'm with you...
Is that a complaint about what I'm paying you? Is that what I just heard?
Well, we could talk about that in about a year. Lee Steinberg will be calling you. And so now I have to... It's funny. I follow less sports. Like, I don't watch the NBA unless you force me to, and that'll be a part of the next discussion. Remind to go. And I'm never watching women's college basketball. Let's get that straight right off the top.
Man. You're going to miss out.
I played baseball. That was a sport that I actually played. Don't watch that. Since Barry Bonds retired, I don't watch his at-bats. NBA is something that, to me, it's lost me as a fan. So basically, my concentration now is on football because I'm on this show. I'm on with other platforms where I have to do it. But it's interesting, Jason. I find myself at home, and even in the hotel last night as I'm trying to fall asleep, I watch a lot of highlight films from the 1980s and 90s. I'm kind of a sicko. Like, I'll watch NFL films like Crunch Course that came out in '85. I watched the 1996 Miami Hurricanes highlight video just because it came up on my YouTube, and I'm fascinated by it and I know why. It harkens back for me to a better day of sports when I was really a fanatic.
TJ?
Football used to be this, it wasn't Thursday back in the day, so it used to be Sunday opener. I used to be at a 200. I mean, I went around all day. I was a kid, right? I'm probably at a 65 now. And
what was yours?
75-ish.
70.
I'm 76.
75.
Yeah.
Wow.
65. Yeah, here's why. Because I think football used to be just as much about toughness and grit as it was skill and talent, and now I don't think so. We've erased that from the game. I used to watch, I was telling these guys last week, Madden 2000. They used to have a highlight tape with Ludacris was rapping over the top of it, and it was just bone-crushing hit after bone-crushing hit. And now, every one of those guys would be kicked out of the league, fined $40,000. There's a guy in the preseason that got fined more than he made in the entire preseason for one hit, and it was a clean hit. And so there's no toughness in the game. I'm a former slot receiver. I was slow, not very athletic. I got on the field because I could be a little bit tougher than the next guy. And I was willing to get us the 4 yards that we couldn't get otherwise. And so watching it now, you're not allowed to play defense. They've rigged the rules to where quarterbacks, you can't touch them. It's like, I don't know if you see the Kevin Hart skit where he picks them up, sets a pillow down, and drops them nicely, tucks them into bed. That's the NFL today. And I can't get excited. So add that to the social justice warriors, it takes all of us in the end zone and end racism, and nobody even looks at the end zone anymore, but I think the stuff's still there. And so, look, if you're going to have a suffering product, don't throw your social issues in my face, or vice versa. But
the thing is, I think a lot of people agree, but then the games start and fantasy football gets going, and you kind of forget and you move on because you want to win your league, you want to trash talk to your neighbor, whatever. And I think for me, it's maybe relative, because if I look at the 4 pro leagues, of the 4, this is definitely the one that I'm most excited about. Sure. Because the other stuff in the NBA, it's much more in your face with the social justice stuff.
The television ratings bear that out. Every year, if you go to the Nielsen Top 50, whatever programs in a block had the highest ratings, look, no shows nowadays get like the ratings of the MASH finale, which had 120 million people watch for that 2-hour special. I remember as a kid, for some reason, I just remember it. All Koreans hated MASH for some reason. I think it brought back bad memories for uncles and aunts. And plus, all the Koreans never talked in the show. It's the only time we'd ever see Koreans on TV, and they never said a word. But back then, we're talking about a much smaller universe. But football has at least a dozen to 24 of the highest-rated programs every single year, from the Super Bowl to the playoffs and to the primetime games. And so we could talk all we want about the watered-down product, the loss of interest that we have, but it's clear that we're still kind of in the minority, though, TJ.
I don't know if we're in the minority, Steve. I think that there's just no better options.
Mm-hmm.
All the scripted television, again, you couldn't make The Sopranos right now, and you couldn't make it the way that it was back then. Tony and half the things they said would be illegal now, even though it was a reflection of reality and how people actually talk. And so, for me, turning on the TV is a big deal. And because almost none of it fits my worldview. Men are betas and weak and stupid and incapable and incompetent. And so football is like, even though it's not what it used to be, it's not what I most enjoyed, it still takes a level of masculinity to perform and play football. And again, I think that's one of the reasons why I like interest in combat sports. Boxing seems like, even though the stars aren't as big in boxing as they used to be, it seems like interest in boxing is actually rising a little bit.
This is what boxing has become. It's horse racing. 3 times a year you care about it. That's the truth. You got the Kentucky Derby, and whoever wins that second leg, if that same horse wins it, now that third fight you really care. I know this as a boxing fan. The UFC has cut into the market share of combat sports for various reasons. But every once in a while, you do have nights, anytime Canelo Alvarez fights, Crawford Spence, that was certainly a night where business was good for all of us.
Yeah, the combat sports though, UFC, boxing, that's where, and again, that I've always liked boxing. UFC, lukewarm on, but at least like there being men out there.
What is interesting is I think even boxing has softened itself up. Guys don't fight as much. They stop fights on cuts much quicker. If you get knocked down, they actually kind of delay the count once in a while. I mean, to your point, TJ, it was so funny. A couple days ago before I came here, it's such a coincidence. On my YouTube channel, it's a recommended for you from the Philadelphia Eagles YouTube channel. It did a tribute of the 1991 Eagles defense, which is probably the best defense that did not win a Super Bowl. That defense was monsters. It had Seth Joyner, Clyde Simmons. I think Andre Waters was still on the team, Eric Allen, Jerome Brown, Reggie White, and the way they played the game, and Mike Golick. And I was watching that whole thing. It was like a 15-minute montage. Stuff like the body bag game, which to me was like the highlight of Buddy Ryan's reign. They didn't win a playoff game, but they literally had to call Ubers for stretchers. They ran out of gurneys. And at the end of the game, I'll never forget, I'm watching this as a kid, Brian Mitchell, who was the 4th quarterback, because he had played at Northeast Louisiana, he wore number 30, and Joe Gibbs said, "Kid, you're going in there." He actually threw a touchdown pass. People don't forget, they remember that. But that game today would not be allowed to happen because most of those hits would get players ejected. And I don't even think of Buddy Ryan, who to me was like this old war veteran. He looked at football as combat, and he really believed in that whole mindset. I don't think he'd be allowed in the league. He would be demonized, and I think teams would actually be kind of discouraged from hiring a man like that.
And that's my problem.
We're comparing it to before. It's like if you just got introduced to this football today and never saw what it could have been, I'd be a lot happier. It's just that I was given a really good product. And I can't imagine what these guys are thinking. Brett Favre would still be a starting quarterback in the NFL if you couldn't touch him.
Yeah.
It's true.
I mean, if you look, I still remember one of the famous Buddy Ryan stories was Jimmy Johnson's first year. I think it was a Thanksgiving game. One of the Zendejas guys kicks it, and then they just rammed him. They rammed the kicker. A total cheap shot, but it was kind of within the game, and it was the Bounty Bowl.
Yeah.
And I just love the fact Jimmy gets, I would have told Buddy something, but he fat ass ran out, and it was like this big duel. And that was like men. I mean, it was kind of savage. It was kind of violent, but we all kind of enjoyed it. No one asked for less of that. We really did.
No, I
want to throw this in your lap, Sage, because I talk about it on my show. They've softened the game to appeal to women. and literally, they want to make the game more palatable to women, and they're making it less palatable for me.
Why do you say it's for women? Where's this research?
Oh, the mothers. They're fear-mongering the mothers.
There's
like, take that COVID vaccine.
There's just as many woke men out there, unfortunately, as there are women, number one. Number two, I think it's throughout all the leagues. When I want to go back and look at old school tape, I'm going back to the bad boy Pistons and those matchups in the late 80s and early 90s. I mean, the NBA is a heck of a lot softer, relatively speaking, compared to the NFL. I mean, based on how the rules have changed. And hockey, now, like, oh my gosh, they're fighting. They stop, they don't even let it happen. That's that's why I love hockey, because you do this, guess what? You got to be accountable. And I liked it in baseball too, right? If you throw at the head of my batter, I'm coming after you too. Like, there's consequences. So I don't think it's just football. It happens to be that football is, along with hockey,
you can't even block the plate
physical.
anymore. You can't even block the plate.
So it's not just football. And so the one that's grown the most as far as female viewership is football, 100%, right? Look at the numbers with women playing fantasy football and whipping your butt. But at the end of the day, it is in every league.
I know it's in everything.
Women don't watch more baseball. I mean, that much more, do they? I mean, I just think
women
it's
birth
interesting.
all men. Every man that
We agree on this.
is out on that field was birthed by a woman and has a mama to answer to and a mother to sit around
Controversial
saying,
statement you're making, Jason.
how can he?
That's a pretty
I just
controversial
want to see
statement
the
you're making.
research and how many women did you talk to compared to men to determine this? Like, I feel like you're just grabbing that out of thin air.
Nah, no, I don't think I'm grabbing it out of thin air. And I'm not talking about particularly you because you're not a hardcore leftist, and so you're different than most of the people in the sports media that are super concerned about how things are perceived on Twitter.
Right.
And so again, all of this is, if you go look at how men talk amongst themselves before we became super feminized, it's a rough conversation. And so mean tweets just don't bother me the way it bothers Mina Kimes and some of these other people. And so I'm looking at everybody. I'm looking at the men talking on TV. They've been feminized. They're so worried about a mean tweet or someone saying something negative about them, some Twitter storm that's all ginned up. And so everybody tones down the way they talk, and then they all pretend. Skip Bayless, when Damar Hamlin got hurt, put out a very harmless tweet like, hey, man, I know this is tough, but they're going to start this football game back up? And, and he got slaughtered.
He got killed by his own
That's
teammates.
Twitter.
His outrage was from Shannon Sharp at the loudest. I mean,
Feminized. That's all.
But my point is, okay, maybe, but who's actually making the decisions then? The men are the ones that are saying, you know what, we should soften it. So maybe that's what the reason is. I don't know. I think it's a fascinating question and topic. But the men are the ones who are actually pulling the trigger and making the decisions. So it's kind of on the men.
That's TJ's point, that men are weak and we're just folding, and we are the decision makers.
There's a lot of beta males out there.
Yeah, I know.
And it's painful.
But they're saying, like, literally, I mean, I used to live out in L.A. That was you almost have to be beta. That's the price of admission a lot of women charge.
You're looking,
Swallow them balls.
you're looking at the wrong women.
Well, I agree. That's why I left
that's
L.A.
why he moved. That's why he's here. That's why he's here.
There is an obvious push, and it comes politically and everywhere else, that women can do everything men can do, and actually they can do it better. And I don't believe that. I don't think that's certainly not biblical.
Science.
We have different roles.
Science says otherwise.
And so that's sort of the point. I mean, at some point, it's going to be I don't even know which way, transgender something. It's going to be a dude who thinks he's a girl that's going to become the first female football player, and that will happen in the NFL in our lifetimes. And we've been told women, androgyny is what
TJ.
our goal should be. And I don't buy
We're
it.
close to a university that trotted out a woman kicker.
Against my Missouri Tigers.
Right, and when she kicked, the ball, I think Charlie Brown kicked it farther with Lucy holding the ball. And I was hoping they'd go return left. And the funny thing was, that kick was shanked and she went straight to the sideline.
And then she gave a halftime speech to her team.
Right.
I promise you, this happened.
What?
She stood up, she gave her halftime rah-rah
Yeah,
speech.
Jay Cutler was
Look,
insulted.
That's they got at Vanderbilt. I can't help
That's
you.
Vanderbilt football right there.
Yes.
It's the one SEC school that does not care about football. And that shows you right there.
I still believe that the majority of Americans believe what we believe, and that women should not be out there. I think that, unfortunately, social media drives
Sage.
all of this. No, social media drives it. We have these, companies, global companies
I'm with
making
you, but-
decisions based on Twitter, not on the reality of what most of America believes.
There's
And
no
I know that personally.
We're too cowardly to do anything about it.
No,
that's the
true,
real point.
But say, just a question. What goes through your mind when you see a women official on a football field?
I don't have a problem with that.
You don't?
I
How about
don't.
a female announcer?
For what
That's
sport?
a tough question.
Talking about Pam Ward.
That's a tough question for
Talking
her.
about Pam
Beth
Ward.
Mowens. It's
Mowens.
fingernails on the chalkboard for
Beth
me.
What,
Mowens,
because of her
can
voice?
you do your?
or her knowledge?
Her voice.
I was
Her
listening.
voice that bothers you. But are you listening
when someone
to her words?
to the house. That's not football.
I'm-
And that is her. There's a call. To the house. Cardinals?
It happened. Luther Burden, Missouri Tigers football game. I sent it to Jason. I turned off the television.
I will put you in a tough spot. Beth, I apologize, but it's just a fact. The clip is the clip.
No, I respect the heck out of it. Listen, but you also have, I mean, it's one thing if you're going to be selective about their voice. It's another thing as far as knowledge. And Bob
But that
Costas,
is part of the deal.
I understand that, and that's subjective, right? But Bob Costas never got on an NFL or Major League Baseball field, and he has the knowledge as well. I mean, Bob Costas comes up to here on me, right? He's one of the all-time greats. So I'm just saying, I know that as the women, a lot of the men have not been out there either. If you don't like her voice,
it's not about her not being out there. It's like, I want to hear Brad Nessler. Brad Nessler sounds like he's smoking a cigar and drinking a bourbon when he's calling a football game. That's the sound I want. And that's, I've been programmed for that. It's like when I hear a great R&B love song, I want to hear Ronald Isley. Bon Jovi's a good singer, but don't sing an R&B love song for me. He do something else.
Jason.
So when it comes to R&B, I want to hear Ronald Isley. When it comes to rock and roll, I want to hear John Bon Jovi, or country music, I want to hear Larry Fleet. I want to hear, you know. And then if I want to hear some dance music, I want to hear Beyonce. And football's not dance music.
Jason.
I want to hear, you know, I want to hear DMX when it's football time.
Jason, I'm with you. Jason, I'm with you. When I think about college football, when I hear the name Keith Jackson, that just sounds like college football. Ron Franklin had a voice where he'd say, count it off at 5-10 with Mike Godfrey. They used to do the primetime game. It just sounded like college football. Beth Mowins, I hate to say it again, she does not sound like
I don't want to beat up on
college.
Beth. Particularly with Sage sitting here, I don't want to do it.
I think she's excellent at her job. She works her tail off. She's a respectful teammate. Not everybody is. I think she's excellent. If you don't like her voice, then you have options as far as to turn it on a different channel, keep the audio down. You know what I mean? But I try.
Beth, I'm sorry, and I apologize.
I've been told that a million times. They don't like to look at me because of my
I thought you were sorry. You just apologized to her and you do that again. Come on, man. That's a late hit. That's a late hit. That is targeting.
In fairness,
that is targeting right there.
Rex Ryan may be the worst announcer of all time on Monday Night Football. When he tried it with Booger McFarland, so it's not all men versus women. I can't hear Beth Mowins do that ever again. But I'm just, it's not all. Rex Ryan doesn't.
I want to move on. I want to move on. I want to move on.
I love Beth.
Sage is going to regret her trip here.
We can disagree. It's okay.
Let's talk something a little more. Everybody's got an opinion, a rear end. So look, Tom Brady just retired. He's not playing this season. Brett Favre sitting behind me. He's not playing this season. Peyton Manning's not playing this season. Aaron Rodgers is the last guy standing of the old guard. So basically, we got a whole new quarterback era being rushed in officially now with Tom Brady gone. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow, to me, are at the top of that list. Mahomes is clearly at the top. He's got the Super Bowls to back it up. Joe Burrow, I can't knock his talent, and I can't knock his performance, and I tried a year and a half ago and made a fool of myself. And so then there's this other group that, like, who's going to be the third guy? Because I'm handing it to Mahomes and Burrow. And then I think there's Josh Allen, there's Jalen Hurts, there's Trevor Lawrence, DeShaun Watson has a chance, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert. All these guys, the youngest guy is Trevor Lawrence at 23. The oldest guy is Mahomes and Allen at 27 and DeShaun Watson. Who's going to be number 3 amongst that group? The next young gun quarterback, who's going to be number 3 in that group?
In my view, and I think this team's going to make a run, Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. I actually think he's underrated in a sense that last year was really his rookie year.
Yes.
What they did with him, with Urban Meyer, that's a red shirt. That shouldn't even count. That should be stricken from the record. And now they got Calvin Ridley, a true number 1. And what does a number 1 receiver do? In my view, it elevates every other receiver. And they have a good pass-catching tight end. ATN is a game-breaking running back. They play good enough defense. He's already won a playoff game. I remember watching a documentary on Trevor Lawrence as a high schooler before he went to Clemson. I said to myself, that guy's going to be special. Sunshine had the look. And then what he did to Alabama as a true freshman, just carving up an NFL defense, I think he has it. He's the guy.
He's your number 3.
Yes.
I love him, and I loved seeing kind of that redemption tour last year, even though that was just a snippet. We just got a little taste of that. And by the way, I think that is underrated, what he was able to do to come back from that first year. And you literally have to get all that out of your mind with what Urban did. Kudos again to Doug Peterson for knowing what to do with a young quarterback, because he has all the physical skills, we know that. But what's here, that is what he really proved.
Defend Urban Meyer.
No, that was Urban dictating what happened.
That was terrible.
Y'all gonna force me to, but go ahead. Go ahead. You and Steve Kim are
But
right.
I'm going to jump on the band.
I am a big Josh Allen person.
Oh, good.
I am. I love Josh. I don't know if I'm 3-4 yet there. I don't trust DeShaun yet again. We need to see what he does. He had, 5 games last year? Let's see how much he can absorb of the Kevin Stefanski offense there. I still like Goff, right? I mean, look what he was able to go do. So I need, can you give me...
Wasn't even on my list, and you got Jared Goff sneaking in there,
I
huh?
love that. He was completely underrated. What a story that was up there in Detroit. So to me, it's not fair to pick right now, but if I had to, I'm not...
Jason.
I'm not done. Wait.
Yeah. Hold on. No.
Don't ask him to wait. Don't be a woman. Go ahead, make your point.
Assertive.
Step on
Let's
his
go.
toes. Step on his toes. I know that was a terrible statement, but Sage, you came on fearless. Step on his
My
toes.
feet are bigger than his, probably.
You know what? I am Asian.
Don't get me going.
You're 6'3" Asian, though.
No. I'm all in on Josh Allen. I think the receiver thing is getting worked out, and he has something to prove. He really does, because who is his nemesis at the same time every single year? You're rolling your eyes.
I thought you were going to say Stephon Diggs was his nemesis. No, I'm being serious. He's got a cancer as his number 1 receiver.
Or his number 1 receiver has a cancer as a quarterback.
I'll take the track record of Josh Allen. Stephon Diggs, you are who you are.
Hold for a second. Who's?
Well, before you, I didn't know, I wasn't even going to go here, but now that you want to defend Urban Meyer, I'm going to give you a resume. Excuse me for thinking that Trevor Lawrence needed to graduate from the guy who had 30 arrests when he was the head coach at the prison down in Florida, who protected...
How many national championships?
Who protected a man who was accused of domestic violence against his wife and Zach Smith, who stepped out on his wife when he was in Jacksonville, wouldn't get on the plane with his own team, and then went and sat down all of his coaches and said, I'm not the problem, it's you guys. So excuse me for thinking he's not going to succeed under that guy. It took him a year and a half to recover, and he was unbelievable last year after that. But I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts. I just needed to throw Urban under the bus where he belongs.
I'm going to leave it alone. I'm picking too many fights.
But Jalen Hurts is, it's not even about his talent, which his arm talent's much better than I thought it was. I knew he was a good athlete. We saw that at both Oklahoma and Alabama. His maturity, I think, is unrivaled. Yeah. And that makes you a top-tier NFL quarterback if you have the talent that he does.
I'm going to go with Sage Steele and say Josh Allen. And I'm going to say it particularly this year. He's got a gun to his head like no one else. If that does not go well in Buffalo, Stephon Diggs has put pressure on Josh Allen. The whole Buffalo locker room has put pressure on Josh Allen. I think this gun to Josh Allen's head is actually going to bring out the best in Josh Allen. And
by the way, it's a year removed now from Dable being gone. That is a transition, and I think he's
lost his
off.
OC. Lost his OC, and so I think pressure makes diamonds, and so maybe he'll fold and maybe he'll fall apart, but I think that type of pressure is going to bring out the best in a guy that has all the physical tools, has a great receiving core that's deeper than just Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis is a player. And so I look for Josh Allen to ascend. I like Justin Herbert. Obviously, their coach I'm a little suspect on, but I like Justin Herbert. The name that no one has even just thrown out there even to dismiss or even to, which is just kind of shocking, is Lamar Jackson.
He's got a great arm for a running back.
I can't wait to see what happens there, because the holdout, well documented. He wanted OBJ. They brought OBJ in. Zay Flowers is as talented as they get, and they have Todd Monken in as their new offensive coordinator, who they're not going to be a run-first offense anymore, right? So guess who absolutely must perform from the beginning, week 1? Lamar Jackson.
He'll do it for 11 games, and then he'll be on the sideline like you did.
I'm gonna go the other way on that. The reason why the pressure's off Lamar Jackson. He got his contract, and
I mean, from a publicity fan perspective, I think,
No.
because you complain and you get out there. Well, now we gave you everything and all the money. Bring it.
He got his contract, and the media's in the bag for him.
That's
I don't think
true.
there's
That's
any.
true.
I don't think there's any pressure on Lamar Jackson, and I wouldn't want to be that type of quarterback where there's no pressure on me. I'm making the argument the most pressure is on Josh Allen. And that's why I think he's going to perform the best. The least amount of pressure is on Lamar Jackson. He got the bag. The media's in the bag for him. And so, there's just no consequences for failure at this point or for not elevating, because he could have a good season and they'll point fingers at everybody else and it'll be John Harbaugh's fault this time and all that. There's no pressure. There's pressure on DeShaun Watson. There's pressure on, most of these guys, more pressure on everybody else on this list. Joe Burrow needs to get to a Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes wants to chase the all-time great status. There's no pressure on Lamar, and that's why I don't think.
Well, when you get that money, there is pressure. When you're an elite quarterback, there's pressure. But going back to Josh Allen, so you were to believe that.
Hold for a second, Cosell.
Yeah.
I'm teaching you. This is how you got to do, Cosell. He will move the conversation wherever he's comfortable. I want to talk about Lamar Jackson, but make your other point quickly.
Real
go
quickly,
back to Lamar Jackson.
We're to believe the two great motivators in American society are Tony Robbins and Stephon Diggs. That's what you're going with. I have a hard time believing that. I mean, honestly, Stephon Diggs is not exactly, he does not look like a guy that's an oracle of leadership. I'll be honest with you.
That's a different, I'm not saying he's Tony Robbins. I'm not saying he's a great leader. I'm saying he's put pressure on Josh Allen with the way he's acted after that playoff game and throughout the offseason. And I'm not saying he's the reason. Well, I am saying he put a lot of pressure on Josh Allen, whether it was right or wrong pressure. I'm saying pressure's good. Pressure.
I think Josh can handle that.
Every year he throws for 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. And I'm someone who actually thought his game regressed last year. I thought he got a little bit greedy. He needs to learn how to take the check down. I thought he could have collected a lot of loose change. Ken Dorsey did not have a great year as a coordinator.
No, he didn't.
That's my view of it, okay? But now, Lamar Jackson.
Thank you, Cosell, for
well, I want to
agreeing
steer
to
my
talk
show
about
back.
what I want to talk
Getting
about.
there?
Go ahead.
So you're telling me a guy gets $250 million or whatever he got, there's no pressure on him. The very basis of being a
I
franchise.
gave you $250 million. Wouldn't you relax?
No. Not if you're a franchise quarterback, you are judged on wins and losses. I actually think that Lamar Jackson does not feel pressure would be an insult to him as a competitor. You are judged not on how much you make.
Less
you are judged
pressure than everybody else.
It's so interesting because the pressure thing, if you go back to the way last season ended for Baltimore, and there was a lot of conversation about could he have been out there? Could he have gone?
Boom.
And so with the pressure, with the contract
Right.
being a topic for a couple of years, if I'm him, I'm like, oh, I'm going out there. I'm going to be Patrick Mahomes on the bum ankle, and I'm going to show them, number one, because it's not just about me. I have teammates, which that's not what he chose to do. But number two, just to show everybody that I'm tough, I'm worth it, and I'm going to be worth $250 million. He chose to not do that and also not even to travel with the team to Cincinnati for the biggest game. To me, there is more pressure.
I want to personalize this. When you're protected from criticism, the way Lamar Jackson is, and the way Cam Newton was for a time, and I'm going to personalize this, Sage. And I say this in all seriousness, just the conversation we're having right now with some, Cosell. I call him Cosell because he's an encyclopedia on sports. I'm looking at you, right? You're under some pressure right now. You're in career transition.
Yes.
And the performance you're doing right now, standing in there with the Beth Mowens, not backing down, just carrying the conversation, you're under some pressure and you're elevating your performance. You've had to do that at ESPN over the last 2 or 3 years because you didn't have the level of defense that others had. And you can look at other people with no pressure who couldn't match your performance at ESPN. This is what I believe in pressure. But people, for me as a sports writer, because I'm so scrutinized, I was under a different level of pressure than all the other sports writers, and that's why I was better than all of them.
Not everybody can handle it. Not everybody can do it. It's a choice for Lamar Jackson. What does he want to do? Especially because now who's the favorite in the division? obviously Cincinnati and Joe Burrow, who, by the way, look at the way he's handling his contract situation because he knows he's going to get it. He's Joe Burrow, right? But if I'm Lamar, and I am certainly not in any way, shape, or form, I want to go for Burrow's head. I want to make sure this is my division because Pittsburgh's going to be a minute, Cleveland's going to be a couple of minutes. I think that showdown twice a year minimum is going to be incredible. But the competitor in Lamar, because sometimes just watching, when you watch his social media, sometimes I look and I'm like, what is this? And is it about just Lamar or is it about the team? I'd like to think it's all about the team.
You guys may not have heard of a guy named Albert Hainsworth, but money sometimes is not a great motivator. He got all the money in the world, and I never saw him again under 400
Albert might be here. We're in Nashville, so be careful, too.
No, but
Some of my buddies are friends with Albert.
Jason, you don't think the rest of that Baltimore Ravens locker room says, okay, Lamar, you got your money. You are a guy. Lead us. Really? You don't think any of them...
No, he's wrapped in the most protective space of any NFL quarterback. I'm trying to think of who Jalen Hurts may be there a little bit too, but not to the level of Lamar. No, no, I don't think he's under that kind of pressure.
And he's such a likable kid too. That's part of the other thing.
I like Lamar.
He's I call him a kid. He might be, but he's very, very likable, and that's a hard thing too, where he doesn't act like the guy who's got a $250 million contract. When he's got what's his nobody cares, work harder shirt. Like that's sort of the attitude that comes off with Lamar. My problem with Lamar is not anything about attitude. He can't stay on the field. So I don't know how you ascend to number 3 on this list if you play 11 games a year.
This is no surprise, right? He hasn't been able to stay in the field because it's 3 of the last 4 years. Come crunch time. And listen, I don't know what the line is because there's something about me as that old school football fan who's watching Mahomes, say, screw you, different language to Andy Reid, do we need to sit out? He's like, no, I'm in there. Like, I like that. That brings me back. And I wanted Lamar to do that. And maybe that's wrong of me. But it seems like some people choose to do it and some people choose not. Maybe he's smart because you don't want to push yourself. But when it comes time and you're a former MVP, you know that this team ain't going anywhere without you.
In my view, if you have a quarterback that gets paid that much and does not feel internal pressure to win and does not put it on himself every year, it's the wrong guy. Wrong guy then.
True.
That's like Kyler Murray. The fact that you had to put in a clause to get him off the Donkey Kong. I'm sorry, that's the wrong guy. I said I wouldn't do it.
Steve, you're great with the rap analogies and all that. There's levels to this. So there is a level of pressure on Lamar. It's not as great as these other guys, is all I'm saying. And in order to compete, in order to elevate himself, particularly now that they want to go all in on Lamar as a passing quarterback, let's run the running. Why can't I think of the OC they had there for years that made him the MVP?
Roman.
Yeah, Greg Roman. Let's run him out and bring Todd Monken, and we're going to make him a passing quarterback. It's going to be just like Steve Young. I haven't seen any indication that he can throw the ball like Steve Young.
This is what Lamar wanted.
I know.
And they had to
get the money.
They had to give him this. They had to. And by the way, I still think it's a whole fascinating process of what happened. And he's, a restricted free agent. Not one.
Baltimore had a backbone. They'd have let him walk.
Not one team came calling. Not one.
Great point. Sage is killing you guys.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not. No. I just thought that was so fascinating because, of course, on SportsCenter, we're doing it every single day, and not one team came, which to me, one of the biggest reasons that no one talked enough about is because his mother was his agent. That's a problem.
And the races, haven't you heard?
I don't care if it's your father, your mother, your uncle. You don't know that business, and it's more important for the behind-the-scenes conversations. And agents know what's coming up and what's happening in New Orleans because New Orleans was potentially interested in talking to him and his services. But how do I get Lamar's mom's number versus the agent at CAA or something? Like, that was a big deal as to why no one called. How about in Las Vegas? They went with an injured Jimmy G. I mean, you
got to overhaul your roster. You got to have a certain kind of offensive line. You got to change up your whole quarterback room. Because, I saw, we're not going to dwell on this, but it's like I saw over Twitter, ESPN or someone tweeted out, Baltimore makes history. It's the first all-black quarterback room. The quarterback's coach and the assistant quarterback's coach are black, and all the backup quarterbacks are black. And it's like, did anybody say they assembled the best quarterback room,
Yeah.
or did they the blackest quarterback room? That's not a good recipe, and
Don't
particularly
bring
when
that up to Todd Bowles, by the way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What he said in Tampa
That's
last year.
great.
It's like, how about we're just good?
Yep.
How about we just earned it? Why does it have to be about skin color? And that's from a black man.
I want to switch up a little more quickly here and talk a little bit about tonight's game. My Kansas City Chiefs, Chris Jones, the number 2 defensive tackle in the league after Aaron Donald. He's in a contract dispute, won't be playing tonight. We don't know when he's going to come back. I think this is a big hole for them to fill. I think Chris Jones over the past couple of years has been right there with Aaron Donald, not right there with. I don't think he's on Aaron Donald's level, but the last couple of years he's been right there with Aaron Donald, and not having him tonight, I'm picking the Detroit Lions in an upset tonight. I buy the Detroit Lions. I didn't like them drafting a running back at number 12. I thought that was stupid. They needed defensive help. But I like them tonight I think they're going to outscore the Kansas City Chiefs tonight in a very exciting game that will be manipulated by the referees. And then the Lions will pull it off at the end. No Chris Jones, no Chiefs victory tonight.
I say no Chris Jones in weeks 3 and 4, and then you have some issues. I feel like tonight's different because it's the opener, week 1 for them, the first game of the season. It's in Kansas City, coming off of another Super Bowl. And a couple of years ago, they weren't able to have that big celebration after winning the Super Bowl because of COVID, and there were like 12 fans there. I think Arrowhead is a special place. I think tonight they get away with it without Chris. And listen, this is a young up-and-coming Lions team that I love. Like, I have no ties to Detroit. I just love what Dan Campbell's been able to create after all of these years of just ugliness in Detroit. But it's still a young team that's learning to believe that it can win every week. I think this is too tough of a test tonight. But at weeks 3, 4 without Chris Jones, and this Kansas City Chiefs team is in trouble.
Chris Jones will be missed tonight. If you actually look at what Ben Johnson does, they're actually the outlier. They play a lot under center with Goff. They actually run the ball downhill. They're not one of the teams that actually go shotgun spread all the time. One of the reasons why Goff was good last year, they did a lot of play action, and they could run the ball downhill, did a lot of eye candy. They're very clever. And Jay, I'm one of the few people, I actually thought the Jahmyr Gibbs pick was fine at 12, and I'll tell you why. With the way running backs are treated, it's like a car. You have a 5-year lease, and when it's over, you just turn it in. That's exactly what they did to DeAndre Swift. And Jahmyr Gibbs, I saw a lot of Alabama games last year where he would take a swing pass or a Texas route or a wheel route, and he would create magic. He would take 3-yard gains and turn them into 30-yard gains. He has an ability to be outside. He can run the slant. He's going to be an offensive weapon. He's not just a running back, because they actually got David Montgomery. He's going to be the inside physical tackle-to-tackle runner. But if you look at Detroit, they've drafted well. I think this team is actually built for the long term. As for Chris Jones, I'll tell you why he's missed. The toughest pressure to avoid in football is right up the middle.
Right.
There's a lot of edge rushers. There's not a lot of guys that can collapse the pocket consistently. So I'm not saying he's as important as Patrick Mahomes. He might be the Patrick Mahomes of that defense, though.
Oh, for sure. For sure, as far as importance.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think the Chiefs have one of the best young defensive backfields in the league, and that's partially due to Jones. His problem is, right now, he brings the pressure right up the middle, and you can't just step up in the pocket, right? And so they can cover long enough to make it work. And I think if somebody steps up in the pocket, they're in trouble. They're young. They still haven't quite figured it out. That's one thing. The second part is I like the Jahmyr Gibbs pick, too.
Yeah.
I'm generally anti-running back. As far as I think they're great in whatever system they are. What happens is they get to be really good in one spot, and then you trade them and they're useless. We were doing this last week. We could only think of a few guys in the last 20 years. Marshawn Lynch, maybe Christian McCaffrey. It's like Marshall Faulk, right? And that was 1999. Okay, so it's been quite a while since guys could switch systems and be just as good. And so this Lions team, nobody talks about, they got like a top 3 offensive line. The DeAndre Swift, and I forget the other guy's name last year, they collectively ran for 2,000 yards. This was a good offensive line. Now put an elite running back in there. There's questions, but I think he's got big playability to add to Jared Goff and their weapons now. I get the Lions tonight.
Is there any news on Kelsey? Is he still?
I don't have it. Hadley, if
matters.
you're listening or watching, you can text me if there is news on Travis Kelce. As far as I know, I think he's out, and obviously that would be a big impact. But I think they could recover from missing Travis Kelce easier than they can Chris Jones. It's like, okay, that's what you're paying Patrick Mahomes all that money. Yeah, Travis Kelce's out. You're paying Patrick Mahomes all that money to make up for the loss
of all nights, I feel like he can go become Patrick Mahomes and create that match. They've got like 64 receivers on their roster. We know how much they spread it out last year, and it was supposed to be a disaster when Tariq Hill left. I just think for week 1, they get away with it, but we'll see. I hope.
And so I hear a lot of belief in the Detroit Lions.
Yes.
Everybody, what they did was again, I didn't like the draft pick. I wanted them to take a defensive lineman.
No, well, they were a little bit soft, but
defensively, there's a problem.
Look, they were one of the worst. They nearly got Aaron Glenn fired. But look, Brad Holmes is the most underrated GM in football. I've charted his last 3 drafts. He hits first rounders, middle rounders, late rounders. I mean, he gets role players, stars, solid starters. And this draft, look, with the way they are treating running backs, it is now just like you get one contract, we're going to run you to death, and good luck in the open market. It's not fair. I don't really like it. And to your point, TJ, I don't think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be counted on to really run inside. No. He's going to be a space player. He's going to be matched up on safeties and linebackers.
He can catch the ball.
He's going to be an absolute nightmare in the throw game.
And they did have 2 first-round picks. They had the 18th pick, too, and they picked a linebacker. So
yeah, off the ball one, too.
Yes, it's not like they didn't help out the defense early.
Is this their division to lose?
Minnesota. We'll see.
Kirk Cousins.
No Dalvin
then
Cook.
they
no
did that.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And Detroit shored up their secondary. Look, Okudah from Ohio State never became that number 1 shutdown corner. That's why they jettisoned him. You look at the acquisitions this offseason, they got solid pros. And Aiden Hutchinson is going to be the next Bosa. And I'm not just saying that because he's a white guy.
I think Jacksonville made one of the worst decisions. Why do you take that defensive end out of Georgia? There was never first team all SEC, and you pass up on Aiden Hutchinson. Yeah. I thought that was a silly pick. I'm going to boot you 2 guys to the curb so that you can give your microphones and stuff to Warren Sapp and Brett Favre. I'm going to take a few minutes here and just kind of preview my conversation with Sage tomorrow. Just a couple of minutes while you get up. Leave, Steve. I can't. I'm tired of looking at you.
I don't know if I want you to leave me.
Get those microphones from them and hook up Brett Favre and Warren Sapp so that our transition is a little bit smoother. But tomorrow, I'm really looking forward to our conversation, Sage, because I think there's an important conversation that needs to be had about what happened to you at ESPN, particularly because ESPN becomes so racialized, and the racial politics at ESPN worked against you. Is my read on that accurate?
Political politics, same word, right? I mean,
well, no, there's a difference. And political definitely worked against you. You don't think the
No, it did. It's all of those things. Listen, I'm still trying to kind of process everything, to be honest with you, even though I knew it was coming. And I'll also say this: I struggle a little bit continuing to talk about it because I have this fear, and I've let go of the fear in most aspects of my life of not being liked, right? I've gotten really good at accepting that not everybody's going to like you, even if they have never met you or haven't even asked you a question if there's something they're confused about or whatever it is. So that's healthy, right? It only took 50 years. I've let go of that. It's more because at the beginning I stood up because of what happened to me. Absolutely. And all I wanted was consistency. What are the rules for all of us? You can't just punish one person who says something that maybe is a little different from the narrative when everybody else can go off doing whatever they want on our platform. I just wanted consistency. But so at first, yes, you defend yourself. And then you realize, oh my goodness, this is so much bigger than me. The number of people in the industry, in the building, outside, people who'd never heard of me because they have a life and they're overseas doing something else. I mean, because it involved Disney, I heard from thousands of people who said, oh my goodness, I've been silenced too, please don't stop. So I just don't want anyone to think that I'm like, oh, look what happened to me, because I'm gonna be fine. I really am. I have bigger things in my life, my family, my faith. very small knit group of friends that I'm going to be good, and I have some ideas for what's next for me career-wise. But if I felt like if I didn't take this opportunity to go deeper on it, and the why behind it, and the inconsistencies, and how it goes into every aspect of American society right now, then shame on me. Because then I'm part of the problem. That silence is compliance thing,
Yep.
to me, it's legit. And once you get to that point where I was put up here and like, hey, everybody take their shots, go, and we're not going to protect you, then am I going to go hide? I mean, I could have. It would have been safer. I'd probably still be working there.
Well, one of the things we're going to get into, not tonight, but just tomorrow in depth, is my belief. Like, I'm used to a political backlash against me because I have Christian values that are framed as conservative values. And you know, as a black person, we're all supposed to be liberals and throw all our biblical views out the window for politics. I refuse to do that.
Right.
But what happened to you, to me, as it relates, particularly from some of the black women that worked there, and this is from afar, this is nothing you and I have talked about, but from afar, it just like they kept, oh, Sage isn't the right kind of black person. And I just thought that was very unfair, because you have every right, and a rational person would claim their black and white heritage. If my white mother raised me and my black father raised me, why would I deny either one of them? It's crazy to me. And I just, that is one of the most racist things that I've watched from afar in the media for other black women. And some of them, I almost want to name names, L. Duncan, who claims this level of blackness that it seems just completely fraudulent to me. Because basically, if someone met you and L. Duncan, they'd be like, oh, Sage is black and she's white. But somehow L. Duncan gets, they say she's white, but somehow she gets to be the blackest person on the planet, and you're a So
I look forward to getting into it tomorrow, and I've never talked really in depth about that. And frankly, it's been happening almost my whole life. Just never on this level, and then where it was just so blatant and allowed. It cracks me up when people say black people can't be racist. Everybody can be, period. So stop. And at the end of the day, when racism is not allowed, except for here,
Yeah.
I think it's the hypocrisy in it, and it actually ends up being what? More divisive. And I think we've seen that throughout our country because of it. And when that's allowed and enabled and almost in some ways encouraged, because yes, that's exactly what was said behind closed doors. And guess what? I've been there a long time, and it got back to me. She's not black enough. She does not, she's not liked enough by the real black community to participate. So it's devastating, but at first it literally was like, and then then I got angry. And then I'm like, oh, no. We're not ending it here. And if I did, I feel like I couldn't look my parents in the eye, because this is not what they taught me. And once you lose that fear of speaking, and I was afraid forever. I was so fearful, Jason. And I think we know why. I've proven as to why people are afraid by doing it. And no regrets, because deep down, we can have opinions on everything. Deep down, I know I'm right. Like, true diversity is diversity of thought. It begins and ends there. And I'm done overlooking the hypocrisy.
I've moved to a place, and we'll end it there, because I don't want to.
Now you need me to. I need to take a sip of this.
Yeah. We're going to continue this. We're going to unpack this conversation tomorrow in depth. But I've just moved against the word diversity. That somehow we think diversity is a positive. I don't. I think that what made America great were shared values, and they've created this thing with diversity that, no, diversity is the goal, not shared values. And if I'm going to unpack this week, next week, this whole thing about.
Can I just real quick interrupt you? Yeah. Because you're the only person in the media who's willing to talk about this. The only one. And you have continued to take bullets for it, and I love you for wanting to, for even inviting me to talk about it. You're the only one. And it's to me, it's the only way we begin to heal as a country is if we have the conversation. You're the only one, so God bless you.
Well, it's what's happened is a group of people that claim they want to stop racism, don't want to stop racism. They want to benefit from racism, and that's sad. That's not how I grew up. It's not the values I was taught at 25th Street Baptist Church. Not the values Lovey Kennedy. We're gonna talk football with your Stage. I'm gonna get emotional with Stage tomorrow. Today I'm gonna talk football and I'm gonna drink some more tequila. I'm gonna tell you guys about my great friends and our great friends at Preborn. You guys know what we do as Fearless Soldiers. We believe that life begins at conception. We believe that how you treat a baby inside the womb is very important and determines how you'll treat a baby outside of the womb. This is important and critical to our mindset. No one supports life inside the womb better than Preborn. That's why we as Fearless Soldiers support Preborn. $28 is all it costs for an ultrasound. When a woman that's considering abortion, gets an ultrasound, hears that baby's heartbeat, sees that baby's image inside her womb, she is twice as likely to choose life. And that's when Preborn really steps up and provides the support she needs through the first years of that baby's life, through the 9 months of her pregnancy, and through the first 2 years of that baby's life. Preborn steps in and helps that woman get through that process. Guys, there's two ways we can give. We can hit pound 250 on our cell phones, our phones, and say the keyword baby, or you can do it the Jason Whitlock way, preborn.com/Jason. That's preborn.com/Jason. Be a good Fearless Soldier, support Preborn, then send me an email and tell me about it. It guarantees you a response from me, fearlessblazeshow@gmail.com. Brett Favre, Warren Sapp, next, and then Seth Joyner right around the corner as we get you ready for the NFL season.
All right, Uncle Jimmy is supposed to be showing up here, but you know UJ going to be UJ. I give him about an 80% chance of actually coming in. You know what this is all about. You probably all have seen the clip, but while we wait, you're going to watch him. This tantrum he threw the other day, I'm going to play it again.
All right, there's tomorrow. I haven't heard tomorrow in 2 weeks. We've been... No, this is a family show, Jim.
What's with those glasses?
If I keep these on, can't nobody take my temperature, especially anally, man.
So,
Go ahead.
what happened?
What, you want the real story, man?
With the real story?
The real story, man? Look, man, I'm gonna tell you straight out, man. I was getting ready to do, I was talking about my opening, man, and I told him, I said, Jay, I can't do all of that you want me to do, man. So I said, man, my foot is hurt. For real, coach, I can't do it, man. And yeah, man, y'all don't know Jason like I know him, man. He just looked at me, man, just told me, man, to get off the show, man.
You said you injured your foot, but you ran out of there doing like jumping jacks.
Let me just ask you a question. Bob, have you ever heard of hey man, what's that thing my doctor said I had?
Dilapidated lateral ligament.
Yeah, he said I dilapidated my lateral ligament. You hear me, man? You know what that means, Bob? You know what that means, Bob? That means that I'm human, Bob. Bob, that means that I'm not a extraterrestrial or something, man.
Hold up now. Is Jason Whitlock still your friend? I saw you, I looked, you're not following him on Instagram.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not following him. You know why? Because he don't follow me. That's why I took my shirt off. Because he don't follow nobody that don't take their shirt off. See, ask him about that. If he's my friend, then tell me something, man. Why do I have to come out here every day just to earn a meager salary? Hey, man, why am I the only one that's on the prove-it contract, man? Why am I the only one on here? Play here, buy here contract. TJ Moe don't play on that kind of contract, do he? Huh? What about Steve Kim? Steve Kim on that kind of contract? Who's the best player on this team, Bob?
Jason Whitlock.
A show is only as strong as its strongest link. You know what the strongest link is on this show? I am, Bob. Do you know why I'm the strongest link? Because I carry Whitlock's ass every day, man. I carry him every day on this show. You gotta be a f***ing tank to carry a man that size, man. Do I look like a f***ing tank to you, Bob?
We saw you walk off. Was the foot really real?
You want me to show everybody right now my foot?
We'll look at it.
You know what, man? Let me tell you something, man. You know what? I tell you what, man. You know what, man? You know what? I take my. You want to see? Look, you know what, man? Here, you happy with that, Bob? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Now you happy there?
Yep.
So, hey, so y'all just gonna let my shit sit up here and burn?
All right, welcome back. Jason Whitlock, Fearless Army Cookout Special, Funslinger Edition. The fun is now officially here. I'm not going to start with the gunslinger. I'm going to start with Warren Sapp because Warren Sapp is one of the funniest, funnest people I know.
I didn't think so.
You didn't?
Now, not then. Now. We good, right?
It's all
I'm
good.
surrounded, between the three of us, there's two Hall of Fame jackets, 2 Super Bowl championships, 3 MVPs, 1 Defensive Player of the Year, too many Pro Bowls for me to count, and too much NFL history for me to count. And these other guys played pretty well too. Warren Sapp and Brett Favre. I wanted to start with you two guys just because, not to. Seth's not a Hall of Famer, but Seth's a very good player.
Seth's the man.
A great player.
Trust me, he's the one that paid the way for us to get in this position.
I had to start with because of y'all's rivalry. Tampa Bay, Green Bay, you sacked Favre 11 times. Do you remember all 11 of those sacks? Or?
I thought it was more than 11.
They don't count the playoffs. It's 14 if you count the playoffs.
It's not the sacks so much as it is just you just had to be there.
Yeah, that's it.
You had to be there.
Because they would think we going at each other. But we was talking about the silliest stuff. He asked me how much I wore that day in Green Bay. I'm like, what, today? He's like, no, in the program it says 276. I said, that's what it was in August when I stood, but not today.
6 months ago it was that.
6 months ago it was there. I was 307 that day. I was wheeling and dealing.
I tried to do whatever I could. I don't know what people thought watching on TV, but I tried to do the last thing I wanted to ever do was provoke Warren. And my lineman and
oh yeah, Frank.
Warren knows a lot of those guys, has a relationship with them. My center, Frank Winters, was my roommate for 12 years. And he's from Hoboken, New Jersey, and I can hear him still. Dude.
Stop talking to her.
Don't piss him off.
Leave him alone. Leave him alone. Stop
Don't piss him off. He's hard enough to block when he's nice.
I said we were just talking about the wives. I saw her last night at the spot or whatever. No, we're not even talking to you today. I'm like, Jesus, Frankie, don't be so mean.
Don't provoke him.
It was not provoking.
The caged animal, man. He was relentless.
I can remember as a sports writer, my first introduction to Warren Sapp was the Orange Bowl, Nebraska. And Nebraska had these all-American offensive linemen that were on steroids and looked like Brendan Stye, I think was one of them.
And Zach Wiggett.
Yeah. And I was covering that game, and I'm a former mid-major offensive lineman. And I watched Warren, particularly in the first half. You got a little winded in the second half, but in the first half, I was like, this is a problem that cannot be solved. It literally, it cannot, as a, so I'm just, is that what it looked like to you?
No, honestly, and Warren and I are friends, and we battled most of it I was running. I wasn't battling. I mean, I ain't the smartest guy, but I ain't the dumbest either. You know,
He's tough as nails. I can promise you that.
had to be. But there was times when he was unblockable.
Yes.
Honestly, and that, you know, people say, oh, no way. He was unblockable.
I wanted him to not get in shotgun. That's all I needed. Just get a little closer.
So on the occasional days when you were blockable, why was that?
Oh, no. Show me that day.
Don't make me get some Larry Allen tape.
Oh, please. What T.O. said, get your popcorn ready. Larry Allen, that's my classmate in the 2013 class of Hall of Fame. And I got out from behind Chris Carter and Bill Parcells because I know they could talk a little bit, so I got behind Larry because I know this go fast. So Larry gets to Gil Bryant, God bless his soul, just passed away. Asked him who's the toughest defensive lineman he ever went up against, and Larry, you know, got a big chaw in his mouth. He the only one get more than one sack on me, and I was set. My resume was set. Larry Allen said I was the guy who got more than one sack. So pull out that Larry Allen tape with that Tony Romo jersey on it. Get your popcorn ready. That was the measuring stick for me because I got Randall McDaniel twice a year in my own division. I never got Larry until like 2000, 2001. I played him like 3 or 4 times. So trust me, he was the measuring stick, and I look forward to playing him.
So what did Brett Favre look like on film to you?
Brett Favre was served up to me in Tony Dungy's great philosophical mind of his. He brought me and Derrick Brooks in the room when he first got there, and he said, I need you to be Joe Green. That's 10 straight Pro Bowls, 2 Defensive Players of the Year, and 4 World Championships. Brooks, I need you to be Jack Ham. And he read off his resume. And then he asked Brooks to step out of the room. And he left me in the room one-on-one with him. And he said, I need you on top of Brett Favre as much as you can. Because, you know, y'all had just went to 2 back-to-back Super Bowls in our division. So the closer I get to Brett, Tony told me the closer the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would be to the Green Bay Packers. You know me, it's the first time I ever had a brother in front of me telling me something what to do. I was ready to do it, so he was my target. Dungy did it, not me. I'm gonna blame it on the preacher. Tony did it.
Any other? You did get to play with Reggie White.
Yeah.
He was on the team then.
Played with Seth.
Seth was there too.
Played against Seth, and I played with him.
Seth was in that playoff game.
And so, who else would you put in that class of like defenders you had marked down, like Warren, that was like, okay, this is
John Randall was close.
Yep.
Same position, same style a little bit. Thing about Warren and John that people would never know because they don't know on a personal level. Extremely smart. Street smart, definitely. But game smart, just smart. Knows how to get in your head. On top of it being physically superior. You know, Warren and I have talked about it. Warren, if he walked out with a lineup of 100 stud defensive linemen, you wouldn't, and no offense to Warren, because we've had this talk before.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be one of the first ones you pick. He may be one of the last. Short, undersized, not you know.
Not weight room,
Not weight room, you know.
Brick house.
Yeah, exactly. But quick as hell, both of those guys. Quick as hell. New angles, new leverage. And again, studied the player that they were going to play against. And on top of just being good, that makes them great. And people don't know that.
The thing that I'm excited about as it relates to you guys joining me on a weekly basis and talking football, we're going to have Brett on Wednesdays and Warren on Thursdays. It's a combination that I don't think every other quarterback seems to have a rival. I don't think you had a rival quarterback during your heyday. There was no Peyton Manning, Tom Brady type deal. Your rival actually was a defensive lineman, Warren Sapp. When I think of who was Brett Favre's nemesis, I think of Warren Sapp more than any other player. That I think is unique.
Yeah, my back and my hip think the same thing.
There's no quarterback that was going to play with him at that time. There's nobody that was that crazy or that strong of an arm that could make the throws that he can make, and there was no way.
Everybody in my draft was gone.
Gone.
After a few years. You know, some drafts live forever.
It's the 83 draft.
Yeah.
Mine, I was kind of like the last soldier.
Who were the quarterbacks of your draft?
There was 2 taken in the first round. I was hoping I would go in the first round, but I'm thankful I didn't because it worked out okay.
Yeah.
Funny how things work out. You'll get a kick out of this. The first quarterback taken was like the 12th pick was Mark McGuire's brother, Dan. You probably remember
San Diego State.
Robo
6'8".
QB, 6'8",
Yeah.
230.
Yeah.
He went in the
No,
first
he was like
round?
265. He was the first quarterback taken.
Dan McGuire was. I didn't
Dan
know
McGuire,
that.
I
I
think-
remember him at San Diego State. Yeah.
I think Seattle took him. And a couple picks later, the Raiders took Todd Marinovich.
Marinovich,
Oh my
yep.
God, you're in the Marinovich draft.
Wow.
And I went,
That's 91, ain't it?
No.
91.
Yeah, that's the year I graduated high school. Trust
my
me, I
bad.
know
Yeah.
that.
All right.
So I was the third quarterback taken. I was like the second pick in the second round. And then after me, there was a guy, Browning Nagel from Louisville.
Remember him?
Paul Justin from Arizona.
Don't remember him.
And
Wow.
that's about it.
Had you ever thought about that there's a connection between you and Brett Favre, that you know, it's like Jerry Rice and Deion Sanders are connected.
Listen.
The way you and
When I was a kid, I was just outside Orlando, and they used to beam the Green Bay, Tampa Bay, Battle of the Bay. I used to want to throw up on the TV, man. The Giants and the Cowboys was playing, man. Why they got this game on in here? And
Lo and behold.
it became everything that I wanted. I mean, everything that I love and about the game was Green Bay and Tampa Bay. It was the Battle of the Bay, you know, the Bay of the Pigs.
cold weather team,
Yeah.
Florida team.
Everything.
Yeah.
But you know what? They really never mixed us bad like that. They really never sent us up there when it was really, really bad.
Yeah.
And the other thing, Warren, I don't know if you know this, and I've just learned this about Brett. I think Brett has more soul than you. He when we started talking music.
He's older than me. And when you're older than me, there was more soulful music with the Gap Band.
Gap Band, I love the Gap
Yeah,
Band.
You know
Charlie
the Gap-
Wilson.
You know
Charlie
the Gap-
Wilson,
You know what the Gap Band stands for? It's the streets in Tulsa that held Black Wall Street.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So again,
Geary Pine.
All I know is burn rubber on me, but
Like Charlene.
oh man,
My brothers and sisters all were born. I'm a baby of 6, and all my brothers and sisters were born in the 60s. And I was not allowed to touch the radio, the TV, the remote. No, there wasn't no remote in my house. You know, it had the pliers on that thing.
The youngest,
yeah,
the youngest that was
you don't
remote
touch
control.
nothing. You don't touch nothing. I got taught all the good music.
Yeah.
And you talking about Ron Isley? Come on, brother. You want to look at my playlist? Ain't no mama rap in here. I don't play that.
I was shocked when Brett.
No, he's got some good music. No, he's got some soul.
When he told me, he was like, "No, Charlie Wilson's my favorite." I was like, "What? Charlie?" I mean, because that.
You know King
I don't
George?
Huh?
You know King George? I got one for you after this, buddy. I got something for you.
So, but like when a white guy's telling me Charlie Wilson.
No, but he's different.
Because I called him out.
No, he's different.
I was like, "Hey, you coming to Nashville? Hey, man, I know these country singers. They might want to come and meet you." And he goes, "What about some soul music, Jay?"
He's different, man.
Cool in the game, man. I love.
Trust me, you're not
I used to
getting
slow
him with
dance
that.
with some cool.
You're not getting him with that. You know, trust me.
I
Be that type of quarterback, you can't be on the other side of the locker room. You got to come join the brothers.
You're right. You're right.
You got to come join the brothers.
You're absolutely right.
You got to come join the brothers.
Warren, I told Brett this when we interviewed him a month ago on the show, that, and I want your reaction to this. I explained to Brett, I was like, "Hey, man, the Monday Night Football game that he played after his dad died."
In Oakland.
Yeah, I believe they got the wrong narrative on the game. I really do, because they talk about how great Brett played, and Brett played well. But the argument I made to Brett was that narrative's wrong. What that game was a testament to was how much your teammates loved you. Because if you watch that game, These guys made circus catches that night. Not that Brett was off, but I'm talking about they caught everything in some circus catches.
Yeah, they did.
And I said, Brett.
Walker was in there cutting up. Yeah, he cutting up bad.
The real testament was like, oh, wow, these guys
No.
and stood up for
That's
him.
why there's 3 people on my football team you can't even approach. My head coach, my kicker, and my quarterback. You forget that. Do not even talk to them. Don't, what? I'll rip your head off. Leave my coach, my quarterback, and my kicker alone.
And those guys were, I mean, like what he's saying, they wasn't gonna let.
Just put it in the area code.
Yeah.
Just put it in the area code. I got you
And,
tonight.
I mean, I threw a couple up that I was like, this
was
got
gone.
a chance of getting picked. And they wouldn't even touch it.
You always threw 3 of those a game.
Yeah,
You just had to catch them.
yeah. Sometimes they caught them, sometimes.
Sometimes they didn't.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times Holmgren would say, what coverage was that? And I'd say, cover 4. He said, why cover 4? I said, there was 4 guys around him.
You know what? I used to be with Phil Simms on Inside the NFL. He said the day he threw for 545 yards, just letting it go. On the slant, just let it go.
Well, I'd let it go. I never threw for 500 yards.
What'd you come, 490?
I think the most I ever threw for was in the Oakland game that Monday night.
What was
like
that?
399.
Damn, you missed it by a yard.
Well, to me, I think one of the most undertold stories is like guys in the locker room, and then when I was like, oh, this dude knows Charlie Wilson. He know more, Ronald Knight. He knows everything I know. No wonder guys in the locker room loved him.
No, you got to go on the other side. You got to go on the other side. You have to, and he knows that.
Yeah.
Come on.
You know, one thing. Yeah.
Brad Johnson, Asheville, Black Mountain, North Carolina. Dead in the middle of the Deacon's room, the Deacon's Den, down there with Brooks and them. I'm telling you, you gotta go. You gotta go. And when you go, we love you for it. But we didn't expect you to stay now. We don't expect you to stay on the other side of the tracks. We just want you to come visit every now and then. Just let you know that the Section 8 is over here moving good. You know what I'm saying? That's all you gotta do. Just come visit every now and then.
I think Brett got comfortable.
Oh, no, he get real comfortable. He's a nut.
Yeah. The one thing about the locker room, and Seth, I know can speak volumes on this too, Warren, guys that's played, that was a comfort zone. Didn't matter if you was black, didn't matter if you were white, if you were Hispanic, if you were short, tall, muscle, fat. Man, everybody loved each other. You were in battle all the time. You were grinding in meetings. You were laboring together. That's what I miss.
That's real football.
I don't miss 3rd and 10.
Oh, no.
Into the game, and I got to make a play. I don't miss that. I miss the camaraderie, the chemistry. That's what I miss.
Domino games,
busting
road
each other's
trip.
balls,
Yep.
picking on the coaches.
Yep. The rookie show.
Rookie show.
Rookie
Just stuff
show.
like that. That's what you miss.
Yeah.
And you loved your brothers. You really did.
Seth, are you mic'd up? Is Seth already mic'd up or no? No, he's not. All right, well, mic him up while let me take care of a little business here. We're gonna bring Seth Joyner out, pay some bills, and take this conversation to the next level. Will you be?
What you got?
That's my tequila, Warren. Will you be testing your skills on Prize Picks this football season? It's the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Prize Picks is really simple to play. I can make my picks and submit my entry in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Look, I live here in Tennessee, so the real person in my family with football expertise is actually my mother. My mother watches more football than anybody in my family, and so I've created her a Prize Picks account. She's going to make picks all week. You can compete all season. You can compete against her on Prize Picks. My mother's been a hustler her whole life. It's kind of common. I'm going to tell on my mother. We got her picks up on the screen. I'm going to tell on my mother. She's the one that taught me and my brother how to hustle. And that's why I like Prize Picks. That's why she likes Prize Picks. If you love to play fantasy, hold on, go back. I want to tell her picks. Scroll back. You went too far. She's got Patrick Mahomes tonight rushing for less than 17.5 yards. She's got David Montgomery rushing for more than 52.5 rushing yards. And she's got Isaiah Pacheco, the Chiefs running back, rushing for more than 51.5 rushing yards. You can compete against my mother. She's trying to earn a little extra spending money. You know, mama needs a new pair of shoes. She's going to get it from Prize Picks. You can go to Apple Play for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. Go to prizepicks.com/fearless and use the code FEARLESS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/fearless and use the code FEARLESS. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. My mom's in town today, and she's here in studio with us. We'll be back. Or do I need to go anywhere? Seth's here. I don't even think I need to go anywhere. We're just going to keep the conversation rolling. Seth, we'll just start with a softball right where we just
By the
left
way,
off.
I think I'm underdressed.
I was thinking the same thing.
Me and Warren,
Time.
the three of us underdressed.
Same time.
I didn't get the casual video, the casual memo rather. So
Seth's never casual. Seth's always sharp.
No,
I mean, Seth,
he's always dressed.
Seth's
to the
always sharp. I wasn't even going to complain. When Seth showed up, I was like, yeah, this is what I expected.
He's looking good.
This is what I expected. He's all I'll do.
cool.
Yeah. You guys are all dressed appropriately. You make me look good. That's always good. Seth, what was it like playing with Brett Favre?
it's always one thing to play against a guy and watch him from afar and have a perception about who he is and what he's like. It's completely different when you're in that locker room with him and then you got the same jersey color on and you going after the same things. And just being able to be around him.
Seth, just for 1 second, are we sure Seth's mic is working or is it picking up on other mics? I don't hear him as clearly in my ear. Oh, it's working perfectly fine, so
Okay.
Let me shut up, continue.
So, once I got to Green Bay and had an opportunity to be around him, I'm like, wow, this dude is just, he's must-see TV. And then when I got a chance to hang around him off the field, see, for me, that's it. That's where you find out what team is all about, what teammates are all about, is when you hang around a guy off the field. And I can remember in the preseason, we went to Japan that year that I was there to play a preseason game. And I hung out with him. I ain't gonna tell you what we did.
No.
But I hung
I
out.
hung out with him too.
I don't remember.
And I ain't gonna tell you either.
Yeah, I remember that, Seth. No,
yeah.
that was a long trip.
Yeah.
That's a good trip. We had a good
And so you were on the 98?
The year after they won the Super Bowl, I came. They went back that year and we lost to Denver.
97.
And I know what you're doing. The following year I got traded to Denver and then I won with Denver when Denver repeated.
So what do you think of my take about that? And I know you weren't there for that Monday night game, but my take that guys in the locker room really had a strong affinity for Brett Favre.
Oh, absolutely. I'm trying to remember where I was because I was doing some broadcast work somewhere and I was like, Brett about to light it up tonight. He about to light it up tonight because the emotion of that moment. But then as I watched the game, I never really thought about what you said until you just said it. I'm like, those guys, there was no way they was going to let him lose that game. There was no way on the defensive side or the offensive side or the special team phase of the game. They was not going to let Brett Favre lose that game that Monday night.
Yeah.
So I want to have a broader conversation about the NFL, and I know Warren's the youngest guy up here, and he just turned 50, I think.
Yes.
So we're old fuddy-duddies, and we're going to sound like, I'm going to sound like get off my lawn. But, guys, I'm not real comfortable with where the NFL has gone in terms of softness. They stopped
National Fluff League.
They stopped two preseason games because a guy got hurt, and one of them was out of the hospital that night, and I'm like, I'm old enough to remember Jack Tatum, and so Seth, you are too, and Daryl Steele. They finished that game. That was a preseason game.
Yes.
It was a preseason game that Jack Tatum.
I just want to know, because you brought it up a little earlier. When Skip said that, that's the same thing I was saying on my couch to my old lady. Like, baby, they finna fight this game up. I mean, we all saw him warming up and everything. I'm like, hey, this is for the #1 seed in the AFC, buddy.
Yeah.
You got to line this thing up and go to work. I mean, I understand that. But the thing that got me, the tackler went down. Not the guy who got hit. This the guy who was tackling and he was on the ground. Now, blessings to him and everything, but we play a game that you can go down. And we all take that risk going into it, you know, with our children and our moms and everything. But we got to finish this game. That's what I was thinking. They're going to finish this game. Am I the only one sitting here that was sitting at home saying they're going to finish this game?
I thought they were,
Yeah.
and until the moment I was like, oh, they're not going to finish.
Oh, no. When
I thought they were until the point where I thought
they said
were
they're not. Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
I'm like, when are they going to do this?
Yeah. Now, and look, I did get caught up in the emotion of it, like, oh, they're doing CPR on the guy. That's another level. And so I could see where they had built us
No, and they cut him out of it. That's what freaked everybody out. He had to cut him out of his pads.
But they've been building us up to this for years in terms of demonizing hard hits. You got demonized for a hit on an offensive lineman that, again, that hit.
Keep your head on the
clip.
swivel.
Yeah, that I got one of those hits in high school from a guy named Pat Quigley.
I got one in
player.
West Virginia that sent me flying. I mean, it happens.
Yeah,
We've all had that.
Can we talk about how we got here though?
Yeah, that's
Because how we got here, you got to look at that.
Oh yeah.
You know, when a multi-billion-dollar industry
Yep.
gets sued for $760 million and they settle it out of court, and then the judge goes back and tacks on, you know, another $5.5 to $6 million and says that, oh, it's 1.3 billion. Okay, that's going to have reverberations all the way down through every level of football. We're not just talking about professional football, because I was coaching my son back then, you know, and, you know, people were like, oh, I can't believe you let your son play football. I'm like, I learned more from football than the college degree that I got, okay? There's no way I wouldn't let him play. Now, we had a rule. We talked about it. I said, you got 3 concussions, and then you done, because I know what it's all about. So it's the public perception, and anytime that, you know, you have a correction that's made, like that was made with the whole concussion thing, it always goes overboard. The corrections are always way overboard. Now, to Warren's point, we know exactly what we're risking when we play the game. We are mortgaging our future well-being for the glory and the money of today. The owners know that. The players know that. The fans, I don't know if they know it, but that's the truth of the matter.
Yep.
That's what we're doing.
And they got the greatest feeding system ever. 119 plus colleges that dump kids out every year to them.
But they also, right now, the game has gotten softer while the rewards for playing the game have gotten super high, and they're telling everybody, well, you got to take less risks than the guys before you, and fans, you have to be satisfied with a game that's much softer than what made you fall in love with the game. I just think it's
better than having a rheumatologist as head of the concussion board for 13 years.
I don't. You guys are better experts or better opinions on that. I don't buy the whole concussion thing, but maybe I'm an idiot.
Well, I think concussions are more serious than I think they've elevated some things medically, rule, regulations, changes, whatever you want to call it, that are good. Because I'm like Seth. I mean, no kid should be playing tackle football.
Not before they're
Some
14.
do, some don't.
What's a kid? Define a kid. Is that
Doesn't have
15
hair
years
underneath
old?
his arms or down there.
Well, when I talked I had a conversation with Dr. Benjamin Amalu we had a phone conversation many years ago, and he had no clue who I was. He don't know anything about football, which to me what made him even more credible. But he asked me the question, how many concussions did I have? And I said, I think 3 or 4. Where I didn't remember at the time, but where I blacked out, lost track of, what happened. And he said, how about 1,000 or thousands? And I thought, this guy's crazy. I said, no, I didn't have that many. He said, how many times did you hit the turf or get tackled and your ears were ringing or you saw stars?
Most plays.
I said, pretty much every time I got tackled. And he said, that's a concussion.
That's a concussion.
And he said, so you see where I'm getting the thousands? And I was like, damn. I said, so when do you think it's safe to play tackle football? He said, never. Never.
Listen, there's truth in that.
There is truth.
The human body was not designed to be in 60-something car wrecks a game, 70-something car wrecks a game, because that's really what it is. My problem with, kids can't play football, shouldn't play tackle football until they're at least 14 years old, it doesn't work, man, because I coach young kids, and I've had kids who never played before, and I've had kids that have played, kids that I coached from the time that my son started playing at like 9 years old, but I had kids that started at like 7 or 8 years old. They knew how to hold the ball. They knew how to catch the ball. They knew how to, throw the football. So you give me a 14-year-old and he's never played before, he can't survive because he doesn't even have the skills to play at that level.
Yeah.
Let alone when you get to that age, your reasoning, your mind begins to reason different, because when they're 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, they'll run through a brick wall because they're fearless. But by the time they get to 14, they start to reason in their mind. Wait a minute, coach, you want me to run as fast as I can and slam my body into the guy with the ball? Man, you crazy. I'm not doing that. And they don't do it.
So if we're still doing the Oklahoma drill, we rolling kid. When are you ever in a football game where you're going to be laying on your back and you roll over and run into each other?
Listen, I get it 100%. I'm not.
No, it's not a test of manhood.
I'm not.
And the reason they'll run, hold up.
Warren, I'm not saying that nonsense like that shouldn't stop in football, okay? But in order to play football, you got to practice football.
No, I got that. I love practice like everybody else, because you can't practice something that you're not about to go do. And they won't even do that.
They don't do it now.
Trust me, they don't. But a child, you have to let your child's brain develop. And I sit here as somebody who only played 2 years of high school football, and I'm the 5th first ballot defensive tackle ever to play this game.
You're an anomaly.
You can learn the game without playing the game of how to hold the ball in the backyard with your brothers, because I'm a baby of 6. And like I told you, all my brothers and sisters were 60s babies. And it was as primitive as it got. But I'm still looking at them doing this to these kids now. And I want, like, this young lady walked in the barbershop the other day with a little man on. He had his little designer sandals on, had his chain on, looking sweet. Come for his haircut for his weekly game. And she said, we won 35-0 and 42-0. I said, how many touchdowns he scored? She said, huh? I said, baby, you heard me. How many touchdowns did he score? Oh, no, I said, he on the line? Yeah. I said, guard, tackle, center. She don't know. I said, well, who's the coach? Coach Bo. I said, what does Coach Bo do from 9 to 5? I don't know. I said, baby, you know you giving your child to this man every week, right? And you don't even know what he does for a living? So that's all I want, is more information for the moms to be able to make a proper decision about what I'm going to do with little Johnny. Because when we go to the Hall of Fame, God bless his soul, because I always say Jim Brown, because that's the first one I see all the time, but he's no longer there. Me and Willie Lanier don't talk about Pop Warner games. Me and Joe Green don't talk about 10 years old carrying a helmet. That ain't nothing that comes up when you're 40, 50 years old. Pop Warner football, no. And the reason we did that is because we wanted to beat the Russians and we needed tough kids.
Yes. And we still need that. This whole society's going soft. And so here's what I want, because y'all were...
So you're gonna put your kid a helmet on at 10 years old and slap him upside the head 40 times and send him to school.
Listen,
that's what happened to me.
My perspective is different.
I can tell you a story about my mother.
Don't do that.
Yeah,
Jason,
it's a good story. It's a positive.
My perspective is different because when my son decided he wanted to play, because I never pushed him to play. When he decided he wanted to play, I put him in flag first.
Yeah.
I said, you're going to do flag. And then he started getting aggressive in flag. And then I was like, okay, now it's time to make the transition. And then I coached for 1 year as a defensive coordinator. And I swore that I'd never not run my own team after that. So now I'm coaching my kids different. I got common sense. I know what young kids, I know what they need, and I know how to deal with each and every kid that I have on my team because I take the time to learn them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And as a player, I approach it differently. So I get what you're saying because the reason why I decided that, you know what, I'm giving up golf, I'm giving up this, I'm giving up everything that I'm doing if you want to play. And I'm gonna devote my time and my energy to coaching you and these kids because half of these, I take my hat off to these dads. They don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yep.
They have no clue what they're doing.
Yeah.
Guys, I'll just
scary.
I was telling y'all, and I wasn't joking. I was telling y'all before the show. I was a bad kid, and thank God I had football.
Yeah, your mama back there nodding her head.
I was a bad
What do you
kid.
mean bad kid?
I was a bad kid,
You
Warren.
wasn't breaking the law.
I was a bad kid, Warren.
Come on, we all got it in our little mischievous
I was
stuff.
a bad kid. I was capable
Warren,
of
Look at Mrs. Whitlock.
I see her back there. I see mama.
Just take
mama back
her
there now.
word about it.
But
so literally, Warren. I'm
all the
just telling-
bad kids are in jail or hell, Jason.
Thank God for football. Thank God for my grandmother. Thank God for
Oh
2015
no, some praying
Baptist
people
Church.
that prayed for you.
Thank
You
God for
weren't as
my
bad as
mother.
you thought.
Well, but part of it was because I had football. Because I was bigger than everybody else, fast. I mean, like in 6th grade, I could have played with y'all. By the time I got to high school, I could,
was
you know,
over?
yeah. By the time I got to,
Stunted
Ball State, you know, I'm telling you, in 8th grade, I was 6 foot, 230 pounds, ran on the 4x100 relay team. I was cold stuff. I was a bad kid. If I didn't play football and take out my aggressions there, I would have channeled that a different direction. And so people need that. I would have never got on a college campus without football, without that football
Different game.
scholarship. to
Different
Ball
game,
State.
different time.
So it changed my life in so many positive ways. And I'm sitting here thinking about when you talk about Little League and just how much I love the game. Mama, do you remember in 6th grade I played for the Cincinnati Bengals at Northeast Little League football? My back went out. And my mother, I didn't quit. My mama, that's not, Daddy took me, because I was on a terrible team. I was the only good player. But I did not quit. My daddy
Dad took you off the team. We got you.
No, he didn't take me off the team. No, he said, "You gonna do what?" And he drove me back up there and said, "I don't care how bad this team is.
You own it.
You on the
Yeah,
team.
you
You're the
own
only
it,
good
yeah.
player." And so what my mother doesn't remember, or she's about to have her memory jog, I hurt my back and thought I was gonna miss a Saturday game. My mother, not because she was some crazy football mama, but because I was crying and like, I'm not missing this game. She stayed up all night putting Bengay on my back so I could go play in that game on Saturday as a 6th grader. And it wasn't because she ain't no crazy football
What was the
mother.
score?
It was the only game we almost won because I played out of my mind.
Almost won.
So mama knows best.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
Almost won.
I needed football to take that edge off of me.
Okay, all right.
And
I got this. We had less things to occupy us there. There's so much more now.
and none of it's healthy, Warren. As healthy as football.
None of it.
So you telling me
Video games,
baseball,
social
basketball,
media.
all the non-contact sports? I used to swim. I was a swim team. Yeah, breaststroke, baby.
I'm sure you were good.
I went to districts. I mean, but
Every damn
there's
thing he does, he's good at it.
Come on. There's something other than football.
But not to take out that aggressive energy that I had. And to take that so I could channel it a different direction. And I just look at Dick Butkus and Deacon Jones and all that era, and I see, and I'm sure there's a lot of them that got physical problems, whatever, but this Terry Bradshaw, he's still on TV talking real well for a
Reckless.
guy. but again, real well for a
So
guy.
I mean, it was
Brutal.
It was physical back
it was
then.
aspirin and ice, too.
Yeah. Oh, the
No skin machine
aftercare
or
was
nothing.
not
Oh.
very good.
Yeah.
Bones sticking out. We'll tape it up. Maybe it'll go back
Yes.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Times have certainly changed.
Thank God.
In some ways, it's good. In some ways, maybe it's not so good.
No, because the middle of the field was the most precious real estate we had. And you had to circumnavigate it. You had to understand if it was man or zone, sit down in the zone. Man, these kids go run across that thing like throw me the ball, man.
Because they're not worrying about getting their head taken.
Exactly.
But this was before the rule change.
No, listen, I get it. I understand. But I also believe that in the midst of all these changes were made so that the offensive side of the ball
Here's your ice cream, Brett.
could really dominate.
Yeah, score more points.
You know.
Brett wanted ice cream. You didn't want any ice cream? We got
I
Brett some
offered
ice
to
cream.
get him ice cream.
Oh.
Warren, you want?
Enjoy yourself, brother. No.
There's another
Man
pint.
this big cannot be caught snacking on nothing like that.
You at your best. You at your best when you're large. Remember that.
I do love you.
The program said
I'm trying to
276,
get to
but-
70 now. I'm trying to get to 70. You can't get there, eat that like that, buddy. No.
So, back then the game was about intimidation too. The intimidation played
Pressing your wheel on 'em.
a huge part of the game. Well, now they've taken that away. And everything is channeled towards, the offense is dominating and being able to,
Go up and down the field.
to be the celebrated part of the game. Like the RPO. The RPO is criminal. It is the worst play. And the fact that the NFL have given the offensive line a 1 yard to 2 yard grace to be across the line of scrimmage on a pass play is downright criminal. Because as a linebacker, the only players that can't lie to me as a linebacker is the offensive line.
Yes, sir.
The running backs lie. The wide receivers lie.
Tight ends.
The quarterback lies because if I
All day long.
want to hand it off 2-4-6, why in the hell am I reversing out to do it? Just open up and hand it off over there. No, they know. You know what they know? They know that if the linebackers are reading him properly, and they reverse out, that they're going to take a false step, and that false step creates angles for blocking. Now, the offensive lineman can fire out 2 yards down the field, act like they run blocking, and the quarterback is reading the linebacker, and when I step up, he throw it by my ear hole on a slant route. It's wrong. Downright wrong. It's criminal, man.
You agree with that?
What you think, Brett?
I do, but I wasn't ashamed to take it. But I agree. One thing that stands out to me, and I think people watching this, these guys are smart. And there's a lot more of them like that, defensive guys. And they're absolutely 100% correct. But I'm not, again, I can't say we need to get back to an even playing field.
We do. They do need to legalize defense and that
I
physical.
do think that they've taken defense out of football.
Yep.
100%.
The middle of the field is wide open.
When you can only practice and pass 15 times the whole year, how can you expect to tackle?
There's no more tackling.
They don't practice.
No, there's no more. It's about
You go to a practice. You know how they practice tackling now? They got this huge donut. They roll it on the ground.
They grab it.
And guys run as fast as they can.
They
And they
grab it.
dive.
They grab
They
it.
dive.
Are you serious?
And tackle
Yeah.
the donut.
Yeah.
Or they got like a
pad and a dummy.
A tumbling pad.
Yep, pad and a dummy.
They got
And
a
they
tumbling
dive
pad,
through
big
it.
tumbling pad laid
Dive through
out
it.
with a dummy.
Yep.
And the guys run up and they dive.
Dive
So
through
what do you see on
You gotta
Sunday?
be kidding me.
Dive through it.
Guys get 2 to 3 yards away from the ball carrier.
Dive.
They dive at it.
Yep.
They either get stiffed on or stepped over, and they wonder why the game is
Got a
suffering.
better one for you. You can't put your head across the bow no more.
If you can't put your listen, the head behind is what opens you up to injuries,
Hello.
neck injuries inside
Hello.
of your head injury.
Hello.
The only way that you can stop a guy from going this way, you gotta get
Gotta
across
get in
him.
front of him.
You gotta get across him.
Head across
Makes
the
no
bow.
sense.
Grab cloth.
We're going to get killed for being old men complaining about new football.
No, we're not.
No, we're not. We just talk about how it
Because
was.
the people
played.
that's watching your show, they want to hear that.
Yeah,
They agree.
Definitely.
They agree.
We're living in a new world with an old soul, if you've heard the Richmond and North
I'm
of Richmond.
beginning to sound like my old man more and more.
Yeah, so am I. I want to move on to, and I want to start with you, Brett. Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. Looks like an interesting relationship. Russell Wilson had a bad year last year in Denver. Sean Payton's done some things to defend Russell Wilson. He threw Nathaniel Hackett under a bus, But here,
Bus already ran over that thing. He just backed it up for one more bump. That's all.
but now Sean Payton is quoted in ESPN telling Seth Wickersham that he's told Russell he's got to quit effing kissing babies.
What is that? I'm kind of out of touch with what does that mean?
In other words, he told him, you're not a politician. You're not running for the office. Stop worried about your public image and what people think about you.
Okay.
Come in here and get to work and be the quarterback for this football team.
Yeah, quit. Russell Wilson Inc., he says, leave that alone and just come in here. He's saying Russell's too concerned about his brand, and he needs to be more concerned about just being a football player.
Fair enough if you're the head coach.
Absolutely.
But how does that land with a Russell Wilson who looked like he was on a Hall of Fame trajectory? And
I don't know Russell. I mean, I've met him a few times. I've never hung out with him. There's a reason why Seattle got rid of him or parted ways with him. It's not that his play had declined. He physically he's got a lot left in the tank. That doesn't mean it'll materialize. But there's a reason they parted ways. As much good as he had done in Seattle, and he played exceptionally well. So maybe he was preoccupied with other things. I don't know. It'd be unfair for me to say one way or the other. But if he is preoccupied with his brand during football season, that's hurting everyone else. And it's the head coach's job to nip it in the bud. Sean has a great track record.
I'm going to throw a little curveball question as I lob it over here, but maybe, Brett, you can jump in as well. Russell Wilson decided to marry Ciara, or Sierra, whatever you say her name.
We got the same person.
And that's a lot. When you're managing your football career, then you marry a celebrity. I think what Brett, when he says Seattle decided to part ways, maybe they were also saying, you're doing a little too much. It's not just about football. It's about the celebrity lifestyle.
Everything else, I got to agree with that.
Can we
be the quarterback?
You know what?
When the season is on for me, Seth,
Why I like
there's nothing else that's my brand but my play. I autograph my performance every time.
why I like doing TV with Jason, because you can keep it real. Okay, so let's keep it real. When he left Seattle, he was having problems with his teammates anyway, and the public perception has always been that, man, is Russ real with this, or is it a level of fakeness? And a lot of people in the NFL, and a lot of people outside of covering the NFL, always saw it as fake. No matter how bad things was going, the hand clapping and the false bravado, it was just way over the top, And then he gets with Ciara, and now, social media, he in bed with Ciara when he signs his contract. And, he over here,
like
he on this red.
Yeah, we're going to do this, Seattle. He's going to change his voice up the whole 9 yards.
He's on this red carpet.
Oh, yeah. And
you missed that?
And the reality is,
I missed it. That's West Coast stuff, man. I wake up early in the morning to get it over with fast.
Russell's more like, to the house.
So, when you're holding up a facade, you can only hold it up for so long before your arms get tired. And
or somebody look around and
see. But because what happens is sooner or later your arms get tired, and all of a sudden they start to drop, and then the real starts to show.
Wow.
And then once the real starts to show, then everybody's like, now we understand what's really going on.
We talking about one of the best deep ball throwers that ever put a ball up in the air.
I agree.
He introduced us to Lockett and Baldwin. Yeah? Wow.
Yeah, I was shocked when I thought he and Pete Carroll had a good thing going.
Right? With the
They really
competition,
did.
practices, and all that.
And all of a sudden it just
gone.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not blaming it on Ciara. I think
Right.
I think that train was moving down that track long before she came into play.
I
really do.
Yeah, she just bumped him on the track on the fast.
I mean,
track.
all you got to do is go back to that Super Bowl that they lost, and just listen and look at the body language of his teammates that following year. I'm not even talking about after the game because they were all pissed off. But just after the game, everything went sideways.
He's never had that protection you were talking about. You give your quarterback.
But I don't know why. But now you see why. Because Seattle said go. And then last year with Denver, I was watching the D linemen attacking him. And, normally D linemen never go after their own quarterback. We got a prize in the other quarterback. That's why I never attacked my own. And we didn't have many good quarterbacks in Tampa. So if I had something that was kind of good, boy, you better get away from it, boy. I can't.
I was talking to somebody about this the other day. In Philly, there was always this perception that, the defense didn't like Randall. Oh, yeah. Because Randall was all about Randall, but he was our quarterback. And if, I said, if somebody did something to Randall on the field, there's 11 defenders coming off that sideline.
Right now.
And their asses they better figure out what's going on because we're going to protect our quarterback. Then I took it to Carson Wentz. When Carson Wentz went sideways in Philadelphia, it started with Nick Foles. He was always trying to outlive the ghost of Nick Foles. That's what destroyed his career because he wanted Philadelphia to love him the way that they love Nick Foles, and it was never going to happen.
Never.
You understand what I'm saying? And I said, if you really want to, look at your quarterback. Your quarterback, how his offensive linemen take care of his quarterback shows how much the whole team really loves him, okay? So when Carson Wentz got cheap shotted in the playoff game when Jadeveon Clowney hit him in the back of the head, nobody went to his defense. Not one offensive lineman went to his defense. They didn't say nothing to Jadeveon Clowney, okay? But every time Nick Foles got sacked or got knocked down, they go and they pick him off. They dust him off. They didn't do that for Carson Wentz. So now, look back at Russell and tell me, does his offensive line take care of him or do they not take care of him? That speaks volumes.
Says a lot.
Because the entire
that says
team,
everything.
Everything. The D lineman was
You don't need to go ask anybody else.
Oh, no. The D line was after Russell in 94, big boy, too. I'm like, wow, the big boy after him? He done something real bad. I mean, because the D line always loved their quarterback. I mean, come on, man, that's all you got.
But it's not too late. They can salvage it. The team and
with Sean Payton, they can get rolling again.
Yeah.
They can get rolling fast.
Yeah.
Well,
it's going to find out fast, though.
Yeah.
When Sean Payton makes statements like this in the media, isn't that an indication that maybe things aren't going well?
Could be.
No,
it could be one of those things where Sean's been around the block once or twice, has had tremendous success. Maybe he goes to Russell and says, look, I'm going to say a few things that you probably ain't going to like, but we need to do that to kind of set a standard that everybody's on the same playing field. I don't know if that's the case, but it would have been a smart way to handle it.
Sometimes you have to motivate the team through the players that you believe that you can motivate them through.
Yep.
Right.
Like, now, if a coach goes into a post-game press conference, they'll never talk about a player's performance in an interview. They just never do. Because it's perceived that the coach is throwing the player under the bus and you're going to lose the team if you do that. In my era, Buddy Ryan would be in a press conference right after the game.
Ripping your ass.
Play like crap, man. He don't get it together. We bring the linebackers in and work them out this week.
Yes,
and he'd run through every play and talk about you, but he knew he could do that with me. Because you know what? He knew that I would take what I needed and let the other stuff go out the other ear, and that the next week, he was going to get my best.
Yes, sir.
He was going to get my best. So sometimes, as a coach, you got to motivate everybody through one guy, and maybe, that messaging has to continue to happen until Russell buys in.
Yeah, I agree.
Another quarterback that's in an interesting spotlight we were talking about earlier, Josh Allen, who I think is under a great deal of pressure, and I think it's going to bring a lot out of him. I was told by a source who would know that the guys in that Buffalo locker room questioned Josh Allen's commitment to detail, work ethic, that he survived.
All over the golf circuit. The only thing he had to do was just turn the TV on, and Josh was at everything with his little one-core hat on and all of this. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
He's got an off season?
And so Stephon Diggs has a reputation. He's on his second team. And initially I was critical of Stephon Diggs, but someone who would know called me and was like, Whit, you got this one dead wrong. You get a lot of things right. You got this one dead wrong. Stephon's not the problem. Josh Allen is. Super talented guy, they say, that has been getting away with playing on talent. Brett, you were a super talented guy. Can you fall into that habit?
I don't think I was as talented as Josh Allen, his size and
speed.
I mean, he's got. We haven't seen anything like it. That being said,
That's because he's playing in today's NFL. We would have broke his ass in half playing the way. Back in our day.
Easily.
they broke my ass in half.
Them boys there used to.
I know what they're talking about.
They used to abuse quarterbacks. I mean, woo.
By the way, Seth, I don't even know if he remembers. We played y'all in Milwaukee.
Oh yeah.
93 maybe. The only game that I ever got hurt for like my first 10 years, Reggie dropped me on my left shoulder and separated my shoulder. And we ended up winning the game, but I was petrified in pregame warm-ups.
He gave y'all that game, man.
Thank you. You talk about an imposing defense.
Oh.
Man, they had some studs. And then finally, they came to our side, Reggie and Seth. So thankfully, I got to play with them.
I'm sorry I took him.
But anyway, what are we talking
We were
about?
talking about Josh Allen and
I
his
know.
level of talent.
Well, they got a good thing going, first of all. Don't ruin it. I don't know who's to blame. Receivers are receivers. There's always a prima donna in every bunch. I'm not saying I'm not.
heard of a top flight quarterback that don't want to work.
I would agree. I would agree.
Right?
So
He's the first one in the building. He's the last one out the door.
if the rumors are already circulating, you got to believe there's some truth to it.
There's some fight out under the smoke.
But the guy's super talented, and that'll get you a pretty good ways. How long will it last? I don't know, but it'll catch up with you.
What do you think of my argument from earlier in the show that this pressure on Josh Allen is actually a good thing and it's going to bring out the best in him?
I think we've seen pretty good play from him, a really good play. And he seems to make it look effortless, at times.
He makes
we know it's
bonehead decisions too.
Well, I did too. I can't knock the guy for making a bonehead decision. I'm the king of bonehead decisions.
But we had a lot tighter space. They got way more space now.
Yeah, there's no defense like that. Kansas City Buffalo playoff game.
Come on.
Was a joke. That was 7-on-7.
Come on, that's all they were doing.
I mean,
come on.
And I can't blame the quarterback.
No, don't blame him. But
I'd like to kind of been playing.
You'd love to play in a game where ain't nobody rushing you, you just throwing it around.
There ain't nobody covering him.
Nobody covered nobody, just throwing
it. I mean, crazy. But the pressure. They're like this close to being in the Super Bowl the last few years.
There's
no reason to think.
Just that 1 year. The following year, Cincinnati thumped them in their home playoff.
2017, yeah.
And then
you're right.
Joe Burrow goes out to Kansas City.
Yeah, and almost.
No, I've been calling Josh Allen a headless horseman since he. I'm saying. I've been calling him the headless horse. I called him in front of his family. I'm in Will Packer's box, Sheffield and Will Packer. I don't know who these people are in this box. And that was the game we was up like 24-7 at them at halftime, and then they come roaring back. I'm in the box. I'll show you the video of his parents. The holy power, whatever that thing, the pray holy power, whatever. I'm telling you, they in there, what? I'm like, the holy power? The good Lord protect us all on Sunday. He ain't got nothing to do with who wins the loses. But they are convinced. And I've been calling him the headless horseman for the last 3 years because he just does the most boneheaded stuff for a top 5 quarterback. There's no reason to do the things he does. Slide, go out of bounds. No, he wants to run over somebody and act crazy. I'm like, Are you kidding me? Is this guy really got this big of a screw loose? I never thought he was that championship quarterback for him. I've been saying it for years.
Do you see any analogy between he and now Carson Wentz never got as high as him, but Carson Wentz had a good run for a dozen games or so. But you see any analogy there?
No. Carson Wentz was emotionally broken, and he lacked the ability to be the unquestioned leader of the Philadelphia Eagles. That's what did him in. He had like no leadership skills. You know, when you're the quarterback, you got to be the leader for everybody, and everybody's got to love you. And when you step in that locker room, you got to be everything to everybody.
Yes, you
but
do.
when you step in that locker room and half the locker room don't even like you, and the other half, you know, will fight for you, you know, you got a problem. I don't see Josh that way. You know, when you talk about the pressure aspect of it, you know, you made a good point in that first segment, man. I wanted to get over here in that conversation so bad, man. But when you talked about, you know, when you get the bag, you know, a lot of people relax. That's the time where you really got to up your game.
That's the gas.
Yeah. Because, you know, if you're not a quarterback, guess what? When you got 1 or 2 off years, hey, we need you to take
We need to renegotiate that, yeah.
We need to do something.
We got to do something.
But I don't, for me, it all depends on how great he wants to be. Because not everybody plays the game for the right reasons. I always say, I've always believed that there's 3 different kind of football players, okay? There's a guy that plays for the notoriety.
The player.
That guy, you know, he just wants to go out and tell everybody that he's on the team. There's a guy that plays for the money.
The player.
And once he gets the money, once he gets the bag, he'll shut it down. And then there's a guy that just plays because he loves the game, and they want to be great, and they know that all that other stuff will come along with it. Now it's hard for a GM or a coaching staff or organization to get 53 of those guys that want to be champions. So ultimately, you get some of those other guys.
Yeah.
The worst thing that you can have is your quarterback to be the guy that either wants the notoriety or the bag. If he don't want to be great, you know, the pressure ain't gonna mean anything to him anyway, especially in today's game.
Good point.
Because 160, 170 million of it is already guaranteed anyway.
Yeah.
And they
You got
250,000
people here backing you, liking, commenting, following your foolishness.
And they're gonna ride with him until the wheels genuinely fall all the way off.
Yeah.
You know, until they get to a place where they say, you know what, we got to tear this thing down and redo it.
I wasn't planning on talking, but you brought it up, and so I do want to spend a moment here talking about Lamar Jackson. Just let's zero in on that. The money that he got, good thing, bad thing, will he handle it well? I think he's protected by the media because of the racial politics of talking about black quarterbacks, and now he has the bag. I think there's not enough pressure on Lamar Jackson, and that scares me.
Man, they've done such a disservice to Lamar Jackson, man.
Won an MVP.
I'm talking about how they've handled him as a quarterback. Do you remember we were on Speak for Yourself?
Oh, I knew where you were going. That's why I'm glad you're here.
And you remember what I said? We were talking, it was pre-draft, and the Patriots picked 32. And I said, I hope that the Patriots draft Lamar Jackson. And you and Colin almost became unhinged. He's like, what? Why would you want him to go there? I said, because I want Lamar Jackson to be a complete quarterback. I said, I'm sick and tired of watching these black quarterbacks get drafted, get put into a system, and the system is designed for their skill sets, okay? Learn how to play the game from the pocket, and then use your athleticism when everything goes to hell in a handbasket. When you do that, now you're gonna have longevity. You're not gonna be 8, 9 years in the league like Cam, and now you can't get a job, you know? So that's why I wanted him in a system like that. They didn't do him any. Yeah, he had a nice run, and
MVP now's got a huge contract.
MVP and a contract. But they could not get over the hump because he hasn't developed his ability to throw the football.
Let's stop there. Let's stop there. Because
You disagree with that, Roy?
every quarterback that we're talking about in this top 5 or whatever have receivers. They've never given Lamar anything but Andrews, the tight end. Now he has Odell and 17 and the other guy. And I was very fortunate.
But they formulated this
Very
system that
fortunate.
way.
I was very fortunate to be at the practice, and I got to watch this because I've been on the team with Jerry Rice and Randy Moss. And what Odell Beckham and this boy was putting together, wait till y'all see it. Wait till y'all see it. I'm telling you, man, he ran a sluggo on Fuller, dog, broke this thing down, and Lamar put that thing right on. I'm telling you, he's never had a legitimate receiver. Ever.
And you can't blame Baltimore for that, in my opinion.
Why would you not draft him? Why would you not go get him something?
They have drafted people.
Who? Bateman? You can't name a receiver in Baltimore.
They've done a bad job of drafting wide receivers.
Horrible.
Some teams just never hit it right. Look at New England. For all the success that they've had, they've never hit on a wide receiver.
Randy Moss broke Jerry Rice's record.
They brought it, but
but that's the whole thing. You go get it.
But their system was to run the read option and RPO and throw the ball to the tight end.
But
that was their system.
Come on, guys. We're talking about. Let's take a guy. I'm a big Michael Irvin fan. Let's say Michael Irvin was 25 years old right now, and he's got
less catches than Marshall Faulk.
So no, I got it, but no, I'm just saying. Let me go through the hypothetical one.
No, let's just do facts.
Okay, well, all right.
You got to go get a monster receiver, like when Peyton Manning walked in there with Marvin Harris.
Let me do another. Let me do another.
Tell you stuff.
Let me do another.
Marshall Faulk was there before that.
I'm gonna do one personal to Brett. Let's say Sterling Sharp was 25 and in his prime right now.
Ooh,
I'll take you.
That's a beast.
And so Sterling Sharp is sitting there going, do I sign with Joe Burrow or do I sign with Lamar Jackson?
Wow.
Where does he want to go? Where do the top receivers want to go? They done fell into OBJ because he's at the end of his career, doesn't have many options.
So you telling me A.J. Brown knew that Jalen Hurts was going to be that quarterback?
I think he was sitting there going, Jalen Hurts has a better chance than Lamar. Yes. I do think he thinks that. I do think.
Lamar threw many touchdowns in college.
You just said the key word, in college.
Well, okay.
NFL's a different.
He had nobody to throw to in the NFL.
I know. Guys got to want.
Andrews a household name.
Look, Warren. Let's take Warren Sapp at 25, 3 technique, and Nick Bosa sitting around. Do I want to go play next to Warren Sapp? Or should I go to whatever?
Most is the highest paid defender in the game.
No. But again, if I'm a defensive end, I want to go play next to Warren Sapp.
Maybe.
Because I know I'm on.
There's only one person that did send me in, and I had to go personally get him.
I got it, but you know the analogy
I think the question you asked, and Seth touched on it earlier, was, I think, 100% accurate. Some guys will go to the team that, you know, I'm gonna be for the bag.
Go to fade. This ain't about winning. It ain't about winning.
Some guys will go like Reggie had a lot of offers.
Reggie White, Reggie White,
and every one of them I think had a shot for the potential Super Bowl. So you can't say that he picked us because we were going to win the Super Bowl.
He bet on the quarterback, I bet. I bet that was part of his decision.
You can't say the preacher bet. Don't do that.
Well,
I can say it because I was his teammate. So listen, man, he went there because they were on the cusp. That move was just like Charles Haley being traded to the Cowboys.
Yep.
That's what that move was like.
Yeah. But not all players make that move because of that. Some of them make it for the money and pass up the opportunity. And look,
wide receivers always make the money move for the bag. Where can I go put up stats and get that contract?
You're telling me Odell Beckham Jr.
He didn't have a lot of options. He didn't have not for the kind of.
Hey, I got it. I think
they're the only team.
Hopkins didn't have a lot of options either. Where'd he go?
Yeah.
Exactly.
He's here. Hopkins is here playing with Tannehill, right?
Ooh, what a quarterback to pick.
I agree. It's a
What a
bad
quarterback to pick.
He went for the bag because he's a wide receiver.
He's a player.
And that's what I'm saying. Part of the reason Lamar don't have wide receivers because
The organization didn't prioritize it. It was a defensive-minded organization with Ray Lewis, T-Sizzle, and all of the other foolishness that goes on there. Rod Woodson and Deion.
I don't know if their
never
Super Bowl
drafted
run
any- they
is
never drafted any
still a
receiver.
possibility.
Who?
Like Baltimore, not like it was when Ray and when they were legit. I'm not saying they
Lamar
can't.
Jackson at week 6 last year had more touchdowns than.
Well, I mean, he's got to stay
NFL
healthy.
franchise.
There's no question.
I got it.
I think that
He's got something to stay healthy now. 'Cause now he can
when he gets hurt in week 11, they can count it out.
I got it.
It's over.
Now he can throw the ball more, so he doesn't have to do as much running.
Right.
And
They ask him to
hadn't
run the
paid
ball
him.
a
And they
lot.
hadn't paid him, so why would
Trouble's gonna happen.
Why would I be running out of the training room for that little bit of money?
I've had the pleasure to sit back and watch Jalen Hurts, because I do.
Yeah.
I broadcast in Philly, so I've watched him come in, get thrown in the mix. In Doug Peterson's last year there, the first game he started, he beats the number 1 defense in the NFL. He beat the New Orleans Saints. Well, they can't sit him down now. Carson Wentz is done for the season. Then he gets fired. Doug Peterson gets fired. Wentz is like, I don't want to compete. I'm out of here. He takes over. The first year, team goes 9-8. Get thumped in the playoffs against Tampa Bay, and the question is, can he elevate? Can he be a franchise quarterback? All Jalen did was went to work, man. Same way he went to work when he left Alabama and went to Oklahoma.
when he got him in
Same thing at Alabama,
listen,
Oklahoma,
though.
and
Yes,
the pros.
Drafted one and free
Listen,
agency in one.
Understand, man. This is the thing I get tired of hearing. Okay, show me a great quarterback, Brett. Could you ever done what you have done without wide receivers? Every franchise, every great quarterback has. Would Steve Young and Joe Montana be who they are without Jerry Rice and John
I remember
Taylor?
Steve Young in Tampa. Y'all don't remember Steve Young in Tampa.
I remember him there.
There was nobody around him, so you got a bad quarterback.
You're 100% correct.
When you don't have people
but you
around
can't-
you to support what you are going
That's
to
fine.
be,
That's
you
fine,
ain't
but
gonna be nothing.
But you can't take it away from a guy.
What you mean?
You can't take it away from Jalen Hurts.
No, I love Jalen Hurts' work. His dad
I think
coached
he's
him, all that.
But what
think
I'm
he's a
saying,
legit
but what
quarterback.
I'm saying is, he went into his second year. He went out to California and got with Tom House. He learned how to play the position and got better. And he'll continue to get better.
He learned that when he left Alabama, when he couldn't throw and they put Tua in, and then he went to Oklahoma and finished second in Heisman.
when he
was
started
exposed to more.
when he started his second year, there was a whole lot of questions whether he could be the guy.
No, I understand the questions because of what he is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's always going to come with us at that position. But you can see him developing as a quarterback, and then people meeting him more than halfway because he's working on it, and now we need to give him weapons. Without them weapons, who's he throwing it to?
I get it, but as far as Lamar is concerned, that was the
This
system.
man won a unanimous MVP throwing to nobody.
That's the system, okay?
Throwing to nobody.
That's the system that they compromised and put him in instead of showing him how to be a quarterback. That's a compromise. When you ask your quarterback to lead the team and lead the National Football League in rushing,
that's going to his strength.
It's a compromise
It's a lot better than putting him in a system asking him to go 3-5 step drop.
No, it's not.
Be a drop back passer.
No, it's not. Not if you
don't go to his strengths.
Not if you protect him, because if you run him, it's not a matter of when he gets hurt or if he gets hurt. It's when he's gonna get hurt, and it's a proven fact. If you keep running him like you running him, he gonna get hurt.
I'm gonna move on to Aaron Rodgers.
Defenders here talking.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is probably Aaron Rodgers going to New York, and
I'm so sick of this
Jets is
I am. I'm sick of it.
Sick of what?
I'm sick of it.
Of what?
I'm sick of the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. I'm sick of it.
I love it. I love it.
I'm sick of it. I love it on Hard Knocks because I get it in an hour for it.
I wish some of these boys today could play against Warren in his prime. I just wish they could get
I'm sick of them, man.
cut the stats in half.
I mean,
they'd be looking over their shoulder for sure.
All right, did you get to pick the Jets?
No.
He picked the Jets, grabbed 2 receivers and went with it.
He handpicked guys.
I'm so sick of this story. Can we kick it off? Can we kick it off?
You're rooting against them.
No, I just want to see it.
Oh.
Because,
He's
people
ready to
believe
get
that the NFL is
get it
scripted.
on.
We following scripts. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. You think I would have showed up at Brett Favre and let it beat me 21-7 and set for the sideline, let it go down? You think I would have signed up for that? It's amazing that these people tell me that the NFL is scripted. So I'm just ready to kick it off because preseason ain't preseason no more. I called Tracy Rocker and asked him when could I see Jalen Carter and Big Davis. These two guys that they don't have a weight problem. They got a I can't wait to eat problem. week one, New England. I said, week one, New England. What the hell? Where's some work get done around here? I got an issue right now.
It's bad when they have the rookies.
Yes.
The rookies.
Rookie won't even work.
Not playing.
Won't even work. The rookie don't even work no more.
Man, that's crazy.
The defensive lineman rookie.
I beg to play in preseason. If I'm gonna practice all week, I want to play.
Let me get something. Let me get a little
Let me play some. I guess today it's like, man.
I don't want no pause.
Don't put me in.
Don't put me in.
Well, hold on, Brett. People want to hear you talk about Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. You know a little bit about going to play for the Jets after a legendary career.
Well, honestly, I haven't been to a practice. I haven't watched Hard Knocks. Really haven't paid any attention.
Yeah, watch this one.
It is it?
It's a good one.
I'm probably a little late.
No. Go back. It's old the bag. Get it.
I got a lot of series I'm backed up on, like House of Cards.
Oh, no. Did you say House of Cards?
That's a good show.
It is pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I will stab both of y'all.
Reels you in.
Yes, it does.
Like I'm gonna stay and watch the next 15 minutes. But what I will say, the Jets. What little bit I know about them and watched last year, no one really watched them because they were not competitive. Defensively, they were competitive. They're good. You didn't know that because they couldn't score points. Now they should be able to score points. So,
How will the defense show up?
If the defense plays like they have or better, and Aaron brings to the table what he's supposed to bring to the table. They could.
It's gonna be a problem.
That can be a big problem.
Have you, either of you guys, but we'll start with Brett. Have you seen this, attitude change with Aaron in terms? He gave back some money and he's getting celebrated for that to help to help them get Dalvin Cook. It's Aaron's turning into the good guy. He's kind of been the bad guy.
Well, I mean.
Brett rolled his eyes. I hope the cameras are on
Aaron, but I think that's he made up that money somewhere. I gave it back, but you'll get it in a bonus if you start the first game. You know what I'm saying?
No, they the old NFL. They don't give you the envelope.
They don't do that
No. No more briefcase underneath.
Those days.
Ain't no more briefcase underneath it.
How long has Aaron been in the league?
I think this is 19 years or 18
years. He ain't worried about that $35 million, man.
No.
He already made a bunch.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a shame when $35 million is not. You go.
Chump
Listen,
change.
what it does is it shifts the narrative on who he is and how he's perceived in the media.
Yeah.
Have you watched Hard Knocks?
No, I don't watch it.
This is an Aaron. You got to watch it. This is an Aaron Rodgers that none of us have ever seen. I'm talking about
maybe that was strategically.
I'm talking about the hand thing with Sauce Gardner. This is an Aaron Rodgers you have never seen.
So were you saying we should watch it?
Oh, absolutely. It's must-see TV.
So, Brett, let me ask you
the
this.
butthole that was in Green Bay died. They buried him or something because there's a great quarterback in New York right now. I'd like to play for this guy. What he's doing with this team, you got to watch it. I'm telling you.
Brett, you had an unceremonious departure from Green Bay.
Yeah.
Okay. And
that what you call it?
I'm trying to be politically correct.
Okay.
So, and the organization isn't structured the same as it used to be. Aaron really had a problem with the GM there. Is it possible that what we're seeing in Aaron now has always been there, but he just couldn't be that way in Green Bay because, I
don't know the answer to that question, but I'll say this. He had done so much in Green Bay, he could do what he wanted anyway. The fans are not going to get rid of Aaron; they're going to get rid of the GM.
But he wanted wide receivers that they wouldn't draft. That was his wasn't that his biggest issue?
I think that was one of his bigger issues. And Ron Wolf told me, and Ron Wolf traded for me and traded for Seth and Reggie.
Love Ron.
Love Ron. Ron told me, I'd mentioned a couple of times to him, maybe reaching out to a player or two, maybe we get this guy. He said, I love you, Brett. You've done a lot for the team, but you don't tell me what players to get. That's my job. He said it it was a very, almost kind of like a humorous, but I knew he was serious.
Yeah,
and you got to draw the line somewhere. Now, I think there's a happy medium, it's okay for Aaron to come up and say, I think we can be better this way, that's okay. He's earned his stripes, but that don't mean you have to act on it. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe you reach out to a player that he recommends, maybe you don't. But there has to be a fine line, I believe. And Holmgren was great at that. Like, he said, I can't be your friends. We can laugh, we can have fun.
It's a business.
But at the end of the day, I'm the head coach and you're the player.
Jason, I know you want to move on, but
I don't.
I just want to ask him one question. Take yourself out of the Holmgren era and put yourself in the Rodgers era, because you had some great receivers.
Yeah.
They made sure they kept you flush with talent. Okay, if you're in a position like he was, where he knew what he needed and didn't have it or couldn't get it, how do you think you would have reacted to that?
I felt like I was non-controversial throughout my career. Now, I had no choice when I played against him. I'm serious. I would never go out there and say, Warren, we're going to kick your ass today. That would be a big mistake.
That'd be nice.
Because all he may have been having a bad day and like, man, I don't feel like rushing today. Then I come over and say, hey, big boy, we're going to bust your ass today. He's going to feel like he can rush then. So you got to know when and when not to be controversial. And I think that I played 20 years. There was times I felt like we could have done things better. I felt like in the latter part of my career, and you probably the same way, and you too, Warren.
Yep.
You're 13, 15, 18,
year 20.
More.
I know more now. I've seen this.
Yeah, and then you're like, I would bitch to the coaches like, why in the hell are we doing this? Why in the hell we meet all day? Man, by the time we go to practice, I'm so tired. Walk through. I'm tired of damn walk through. I'd rather tackle.
We meeting just to meet.
Yeah, we call them beatings, not meetings. If we have any more of these damn beatings,
right?
I was at Favre, man. He is depressed.
I want it out of here.
I think that's as far as it went for me. I don't know. Yeah, I had my opinions on how a player played or what I thought we could do if we brought in this player or we needed. But I usually just, at that point, I was kind of burnt out.
I want to ask Seth's question a different way. I don't know if I would want to be a franchise quarterback in Green Bay because there's no ownership. I'd rather be a franchise quarterback with Robert Kraft or Jerry Jones.
It's interesting.
You get to have a relationship with ownership, and
Magic Johnson.
But Tom Brady's relationship with Robert Kraft.
Yeah.
Kraft
Go right to him.
Yes.
Kraft told him you will always make $1 more than Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Kraft told him that you will always make $1 more.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
I don't think
Every time Peyton got a new deal, Brady got a new deal.
Brady was always a little bit underpaid.
Go look it up.
You're distracting me from my point, though.
I'm not.
You're distracting me. Warren.
He's good at that.
Yeah, he's very good. But again, Warren, you probably had access to ownership.
No.
You didn't?
No. They wouldn't even let me help design the Super Bowl ring.
Huh.
I can't believe that.
As
right? In Tampa, too.
Ain't no telling what it would look like.
I had a
big picture of Warren on it.
They stole they stole the design on the new one. On the one with the 2, they stole it. Trust me, they stole my design.
No, that Buccaneer with the hat,
I'll show you.
It would have been Warren with a cigar.
No. You know I had a world champs on that thing with diamonds running everywhere, the flag coming across that thing. Trust me, I had a nasty one.
But that would be an advantage.
You make it. It's an interesting thought. It's never crossed my mind about.
Because we had enough on our plate without worried about who was going to be next to me.
Yeah, but but it's a different era though. I mean, when you look at what LeBron's able to do, how guys can jump and go wherever they want to, they understand the power of their brand.
The NBA's all-time leading scorer.
No, but I'm still
a little different.
But football's no different now. Okay, you just said you don't mess with my head coach, you don't mess with my
the 3 people.
you don't mess with my kicker.
But you only need 3 on a basketball court to dominate it.
I understand that, but you spoke to the importance of the quarterback.
Yeah.
These players now understand that they have power. Okay?
No, you don't.
Yes, they do.
No, you don't.
If you're a franchise quarterback, you
It's
telling me that they don't have power?
Perceived power.
No,
You ain't picking no players.
I think Patrick Mahomes has probably got a lot of power.
There's a lot of guys that got power. You want
No.
Brett? There's a lot of guys that got power because when you're paying a guy 40, 50, it's trending towards $60 million a year, and your coach is making 6, and your GM is making 5. Who you think got the power?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Not the quarterback.
Yes, he does.
Come on. Y'all
Yes,
know
he
better.
does.
Well, and
Y'all know better.
there's
What's
only.
across the
I'm
game?
gonna cross my leg on that. Yes, he does.
You keep crossing them. Just like he was shipped out, just like Joe Montana was shipped out,
I'm talking about-
Peyton Manning was shipped out.
I'm talking about in your
Do
prime.
not get it twisted.
Yeah,
I'm talking about in your
career.
prime. I'm not talking about when you on your way out.
The prime of your career, they have a 5th-year option either to give you or ship you out.
They ain't shipping Patrick Mahomes nowhere.
Oh, no, he's a $500 million quarterback. We
Right,
got
so he's
this,
got power.
But he ain't got no power.
That's my point.
He does not.
Okay.
Don't you think he would have liked to kept the cheetah and some of them other pieces they moving around? Don't you think he would like to get big Chris Jones in the camp?
They'll get him, man.
Game is tonight, baby. We about to fire up.
They don't need him.
Not for tonight. It's the Lions. I mean, this
That's what they
Jared
think.
Goff
They don't need him. If
conversation,
they
I don't know
needed
where
him,
that
they'd
came from.
have him.
Patrick Mahomes ain't worrying about nothing because you know what? He knows that he's the best player in the National Football League. He got the most innovative and best head coach in football.
Absolutely.
He's going to give him what he needs. And you know something? His talent level is at a place that, you know, he doesn't have to have great wide receivers. He just got to have guys that can get to where they need to get to, and he gonna get them the football.
Warren,
He's different.
I think Warren's made a very interesting point that I wasn't anticipating, but it segues, transitions me into a point where quarterbacks have no power. DeShaun Watson goes through his controversy in this Me Too era and still gets an incredible contract.
$30 million guaranteed.
Yes.
We're talking about a franchise that hadn't won since Jim Brown was there.
But clearly that's some power. If you can have damn near 30 women claim that
66.
or whatever it was, sexually assaulted
It
you,
was 66.
and you can still get
was
230 million guaranteed.
No. It was just a desperate franchise that had them went through the Baker Mayfield
But that's
debacle.
power.
But they didn't
That's
have
not power.
They didn't
That's
have
not
to, Jason, they didn't have to guarantee $230 million, did they?
See?
They didn't have to.
They didn't have to, but again, it speaks to
That
he had
shows
power and leverage.
that shows you the desperation of the Cleveland Browns. They had them they done went through the mistake by the lake. They had them went through the fumble and all of this, the drive, and Baker Mayfield was the last thing they went through. We done seen enough. And if you watch DeShaun Watson that year before they got him, boy, he was doing Houdini down there. And
I agree.
Holy smokes, he was Houdini. Was he not?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, disappearing on defense.
which-
I mean, in the middle of, wow, he go.
Leads to my question.
All right.
Having gone through what he's just gone through and being shamed, this reminds me of Tiger Woods after Thanksgiving 2009, where Tiger is still the most talented guy, but mentally, I don't think he could initially recover from the shame. Can DeShaun Watson mentally recover and return?
I think it's going to be hard. I think it's going to be really hard because with Tiger, you know, that was one of the most heartbreaking things for me because I loved him I'm a golfaholic, you know, and I've been around a lot of pro golfers, and the way that they talked about Tiger was almost like in a God type of way. But when he stood in front of the world and bore his soul like that, the mystique about Tiger disappeared. It disappeared. Every guy on tour thought that, oh, we can get him. He's not invincible like we thought he was, okay? So now there's got to be some psychological backlash, you know, as far as what DeShaun Watson is going through. Because when he comes out of the tunnel on away games, you don't think that he gets it every single minute?
Love it. I would love it.
You understand what I'm saying? Yeah,
And
because you wired different.
Yeah, he better be too.
Well,
He better be too.
I'm just
But
saying.
I think Butch Harmon kind of added to the Tiger Woods because he went and told Phil all his secrets, all the little comments down the back nine, and all the little things Tiger would do.
he stood in front of the world.
I got that.
And
but
look,
Butch,
and he
Butch
looked-
peeled him another layer.
I know, but he looked so defeated.
Oh yeah, he was
I am so sorry.
But Warren, my thing, you're saying you would love it, but I was thinking when you initially said that you would love it as a defensive lineman because of what you would be saying to DeShaun Watson on the field.
Oh, it wouldn't be nice. You know he'd be
wide
trash talk.
Oh, I get it.
I say this to everyone. He was the best trash talker I ever played against. The bad news was he backed it up.
Chris Carter.
Most people who are the best trash talkers never
They
back
just
it
talk
up.
trash, yeah. Chris Carter was the best because Chris Carter never cussed. I mean, he would rip you in half. And I mean, not one mild word out of his mouth.
Is that possible?
Yes. Chris Carter is the master of it. I watched him tell one of my teammates one time, he said, man, how long you been in the league? And I'm thinking in my mind, do not talk to him. Please, Jesus, do not talk to him. This is the Jedi mind trick. You about to fall in the trap. Don't do it. Yes, dog. I'm like, oh my God. He said, don't you think it's about time for you to take advantage of the dinner program and get that there fixed? So now my teammate turns and looks at me and I got him. I told you don't talk to him. That's all I can tell him, Seth. I told you don't talk to him.
Listen, I played with him.
Yeah.
No.
He's vicious.
He got
vicious.
He got trash talking game like no.
And he's not gonna curse you. Not even.
Say homeboy.
Yeah. Say homeboy. Boy, I'm telling you, boy, that boy that's something special, boy. That's my classmate, 2013. So I got some good ones.
Oh,
good ones.
yeah. So DeShaun Watson, can he?
He can do it. I mean, the guy can play. There's no question about it.
You
don't think the track helps.
Hold for one second. You went through a situation in '98 or when you had to go to rehab, and there was a lot of stories about you. How tough was that to?
Well, we won the Super Bowl after I got out, but I was.
You son of a dog, dude.
I got up in front of the media and did the same thing. I said, look, I got a pain pill problem. I actually had a drinking problem as well.
That's a little different than 66 women saying.
Well,
I mean,
when I was 25 and thought I was invincible and realized that I had 3 seizures that almost killed me.
Holy smokes.
That no one knew about, except my family and the team. You know, you think you're bulletproof, and then you have one during the week before a game, and they say, whoa, wait a minute. Why is this happening? And, you know, later on, I had to get up there and admit it, and I mean, I still cringe now thinking about it. But when I came out, I had a lot of time, 72 days of rehab. I thought it was 28, by the way. At 28, I was like, what time would I leave? They go, you got a ways to go. Man. I thought I knew it all, but I had a lot of time to think. I worked out. I really worked on me. And I remember the press conference afterwards, when I got to Green Bay the day after I got out, I said, we're going to the Super Bowl and we're going to win it. I never said that before or after. But there was just something about me that knew it. DeShaun, it's a different scenario. But the kid has got tremendous potential. And he's young enough that he can reach into his inner self and find it. I mean, if you're 38, 39, you may say, look, man, I ain't got it in the tank, man. But he's young. He's got tons of talent. I think he's, he and Jalen Hurts are very similar kind of type players to me. Cerebral type guys, can throw the ball very well, can run if need be, have demonstrated great leadership. Now DeShaun's got to win that over in Cleveland. That's going to be a big win over that he needs to accomplish. But he can do it. He can do it.
You know what, Brett? I talk. People ask me questions about being a professional, and I always say that there's only one thing that separates players who are good players from elite players from great players, and it's confidence.
Yeah.
Because if you don't think, you don't believe in yourself, because there's so many other distractions and everything. So when you're talking about DeShaun Watson, last year when he took the field, he missed the majority of the season.
Yeah.
You could see he just wasn't sure.
Yeah, he was
There's no question. You're
very,
right.
very apprehensive. Yeah. So I think when it comes to whether he can get back, can he get to a point where he don't give a damn what anybody thinks or what anybody
That's what he's got to do.
He's got to be there.
And can he get to a place where, because in order to play at a high level, in order to be a Hall of Famer, and in order to have success, there's almost this conceit that lives inside of you. Now, every once in a while, the a-holes let it seep out, and you can see it. But the guys who understand, there's this level of conceit that's inside of you. Man, I am one bad MF, and you can't nobody
shut your mouth.
And you got to have that inside you.
Yeah.
Until that rises back up inside of him, and he just don't give a damn what nobody else thinks or what anybody says, it's going to be hard for him to get back unless he can embody that.
Yeah.
Sapp?
I agree with both of them 1,000%. You got to win your teammates over. You got to show them you can do it, but you got to be able to look yourself in the mirror and know who and what you are every Sunday you step out there on that football field and not give a damn. Because I put in the work, I poured the concrete. I'm going to build me a nice mansion here. Give a damn if it's in Cleveland. I'm going to build a nice one, but I don't like the track. I don't like the track he's on. It gets cold in Cleveland in that field. Nasty.
So if you were betting,
I'm not a betting man.
If your instincts say he's not going to return to that super elite level.
No, not that Houdini that we saw in Houston, because that track allowed him to do some of that.
What if he got?
They need to change the field.
Change a venue.
Yeah, change the venue.
He's already changed venue for $230 million.
I'm asking
Cleveland.
I agree with you.
Just show me the success story in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Other than Jim Brown. Jim Otto and the Mo guys.
Hey, listen, at some point in time, it's got to turn around. Y'all turned it around in Tampa.
Yeah, but it took some hard piping brothers and 4 Hall of Famers. It takes some good work. It takes a lot of work.
Well, I was personally there to witness it.
Hey, it did. Tony Dungy led us. Tony Dungy poured a lot of gold cups.
There was a couple drafts there where they draft some damn good players.
Yeah, 95, 96.
I was like, when are we getting out of this conference?
And then they let us out in 2002, and then we win a championship. I'm like, damn, they can get me out of the damn Norris, and I can win something, finally. Jeez.
I got to tell you a good Warren story. Early on in his career, first couple of years, he was good. Lynch was good. Barber was good. Derrick Brooks was good, but they ran the same defense. They hadn't quite got there yet. And I'll tell you how close they were. I'd throw a touchdown right as I let it go. I was getting hit by Warren. And as I'm going down to the ground, he's like, I'm kicking your ass, for I'm kicking your ass. I hear the crowd, touchdown. I said, Warren, it's a touchdown. We're up 21-0. I don't give a damn. I'm kicking your ass all day. And I knew right then, in about 3 years, we better get it while we can. It's just going to be hell on wheels.
Oh, boy.
It was, too.
I do love you. I was that ignorant. Boy.
No, that's what we're talking about, what you got to have.
Oh, you got to. You got to not care. You got to go. You got to go. You got to believe in yourself.
It wasn't your job to worry about the scoreboard.
No, it was
your job was
you.
to worry about me, and you were doing a pretty good job.
You were Tony Dungy sicked me after you, and then you invited me in with a nice conversation. I'm like, I got a good friend in Green Bay. I get to see him twice a year. The world loves it. I love it. Hey, why not? Let's play this up.
What was I thinking?
two country boys just playing till the sun go down, baby. That's
We
all
had
we
some
were doing.
fun, though, didn't
That's
we?
all we were doing, baby, playing till the sun go down.
I got to squeeze this in before I let you guys go because we were having this conversation before the show. Seth, you weren't here yet. You were getting all prettied up.
I walked in like this, Jay.
Ooh, I wake up like this. I wake up like this. I like it.
We were having a very fascinating discussion about Deion Sanders. And Warren was this close to getting me to believe that Deion's going to be super duper successful at Colorado. I'm still not all the way bought in, but and it started because Brett Favre was like, "Oh, Warren would make a great coach," and I'm like, "Warren Sapp would make a great coach. Get out of here!" And Warren's been down with Deion at Colorado. You've seen it all firsthand.
They pouring concrete. Just know this.
Y'all, and Seth, I'm gonna lump you in, even though I don't know your thoughts. Y'all all probably think the Deion thing's gonna work. Warren, you start us off.
I'm fully in because the man is so consistent and patient with them young men, and then he surrounded himself with good coaches around him. It's not just him. It's not just him. If it was just him, I'd be like, Prime, you can't do this all by yourself, baby. You're a Florida boy, and I know we walk around with chips on our shoulders and think we walk on water, but that's just too much. He's got a great staff with him, and the kids are all in. When he's in front of them talking, it's almost like they're in a trance. And you know how that is when you got a football team on one beat. When you got a football team on one beat, we can do whatever we want to do because we're all rowing in the same direction. And when you have that as a football team, that's special. Yeah. I'm just telling you, he's a special individual leading a special group of men out there right now. And it's him. He brought them all. This is his. So I'm just telling what I saw with my own eyes. And if I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have came home, got on a plane, went back to Dallas with him to TCU.
I just great players, I don't think, make great coaches.
Not always.
Not always. Usually never.
I don't think ever.
Usually never.
There's always an exception to the rule.
It is.
We'll name them.
Deion Sanders will be that
We
exception.
won game.
No. He won at Jackson State, didn't he?
Wait, let me ask you a question before you go to Brett and then you end up with me about Deion. What is it about Deion besides him being a great player that makes you doubt that he can?
Arrogance. Okay. Arrogance.
Little male jealousy right there.
No. Listen, I know
what he did. You gotta have that supreme confidence that you can go out there and shut out 1/3 of the earth.
I disagree.
What do you mean?
Warren, I've watched all you guys play, and I have tremendous respect. Did you finish runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year? And you guys are all special level players. I watched all of you play. You're incredibly gifted, and I think a lot of times incredibly gifted people have flaws that their gifts make up for, but they think their flaws are part of their strength. And Deion was not the greatest corner to ever play the game, in my opinion.
That's fine.
Because of his arrogance. God bless.
Just because of his arrogance.
No. I'm saying I don't think that's what made him great. God gave him some incredible gifts in the womb, and he maximized that and worked hard and did all that. But it's not the arrogance. The arrogance to me is a shield or a beard for some insecurity. And just to be quite honest, when I see people that over the top, when I see people, he's my age, we're 56, we're the same class. I see people still wearing gold chains at 56, that's some insecurity. And because I bought some gold chains. And
I never wore gold chain in the beginning, but I got me a nice Cuban now.
That ain't the level I'm talking about. He run around with Run DMC. And again, I'm not a Deion hater. I just
got a little male jealousy.
I don't. I really don't. I would love for Deion to be a success. Humility is at the foundation of all sustainable success. swagger and all this other stuff we love to talk about. We love to rap about it. We got to have it.
Display, yeah.
Put it on display.
Yeah.
That's all worthless.
But his patience makes
Some of the things you were telling me.
No, I'm telling you.
Are humble acts.
I'm telling you.
The patience, the work ethic. You talking about when he's driving 90 minutes to go coach high school football.
Yeah.
That's humility.
Yes.
But I see too much arrogance to think that it's sustainable. But I'm open to being proven wrong.
You know. See,
I like that. You open for it.
Without question.
Okay.
When I watched Deion and when I watched what happened, okay. So I got into a little dispute on social media because somebody fired. They were talking about, he was over the top, and I said, and I'm part of the media now, but I think one of the greatest injustices and one of the greatest problems with the media is that when someone writes something or someone says something and they get proven wrong, they don't have to eat crow. They don't have to go back and recant. They don't have to go back and say they got it wrong. See, my brand is that, I don't bite my tongue. I tell it like it is, and it might not work on a national level sometimes, but that's in Philly, that flies because that's what they want. But when I get it wrong, like I said, Brandon Graham will never be a double-digit sack guy because I've been around football long enough to know I can look at a guy and tell you, guess what, he got 11 sacks last year. The minute he got 11 sacks, I went on air in postgame and said, hey, I got it wrong. Congratulations to Brandon Graham. I sent him a text, okay? And I think that's the way it should be. But you can't talk about Deion and you can't talk about his kids and what they can and what they can't do in the national media and think he ain't gonna come at you. You know who you dealing with. He's been arrogant, and I won't say arrogant. I'm gonna call Deion one of the most confident football players that I ever seen in my entire life. He's overly confident. If everybody else walked in that kind of confidence, they'd be amazed at what they can accomplish, okay? So you can't come at him and think that he's not gonna come back at you, You just can't.
Ed Werder didn't come at him.
That wasn't Ed. It wasn't Ed he was
He was talking to Ed Werder.
Ed, it was the other guy. It was the Shadik guy.
I missed this. What are y'all talking about?
The guy wrote an article saying all this buzz in college football right now.
Sapp, you in my lane.
I'll show you the guy.
No,
it wasn't Ed Werder. It wasn't Ed.
Sapp.
It wasn't Ed. Why would he be asking Ed Werder if he believed? What did Ed Werder write?
Sapp. You know me and Ed Werder are peers.
Brother.
This would be like me arguing with you about Joe
you're
Green.
not. When I'm sitting here, I know the guy that he was
I know Ed Werder.
It wasn't Ed Werder.
It was Ed Werder.
What did Ed Werder write?
He didn't write anything.
When you say I read that bull junk, because you can hear the guy's voice the exchange.
He was talking to Ed Werder.
It's an Indian reporter named Shadik something, and he wrote all this noise about Colorado. We're just basically going to be talking about a 2-10 team or worse.
Ed Werder, I'm friends with Sapp.
Here we go. You wasn't there.
I talked to Ed Werder.
Ed Werder cannot say that.
I heard Ed Werder's voice
say,
believe in what? That was Ed who said, believe in what? I know Ed Werder's voice.
Oh, no.
We're peers.
No.
Again, this is like me arguing with you about Derek Brooks.
Hey, you wasn't there. I got the video from the boys that's in there. I know exactly who he's talking to. I can show you the reporter with his tweet, because I even tweeted him. Come on, stop it.
After a while, I just let him sack me.
I do. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just
what did Ed Werder write?
He didn't write anything.
Exactly.
And that's why.
He ain't talking to him. He said, I read that mess that you wrote. Do you believe? And the guy said, believe in what? That wasn't Ed Werder.
I believe they're going to win more than 2 games.
Absolutely. They'll be 2-0 after this week.
I think
and a great player. This dude is. I don't think any of you guys could be great coaches. You're too great at players. But
I could.
No,
you could.
You know what you got to be.
You could be a great coach.
I could.
You know what you got to be.
But now, later in
life, because we've learned.
And I'm not as
hot-headed and fly off the handle as we were.
Sometimes it's best to just pause, think about it, rather than talking or yelling or screaming. I think there's a call for that, if needed. But getting back to Deion, I think Deion's at a place in his life where he's ready to accept that role.
Absolutely.
He's a marketing machine. There's no question about it. You can't fault him for that. From day one, back in the day, maybe he when he was drafted and he was playing baseball and football, he was feeling it, and it was all because of him. Now he gives the glory to God
And himself.
Well, I mean, I think he deserves some.
I don't. Not as a Christian. I can.
Well, and we can argue this. At what level a Christian
I've
is.
accomplished again, and he's not at a very high level. In the sports writing deal, I've accomplished a lot. It has nothing to do with me. Nothing. Anything you accomplish on football, you may not know it, but one day you'll find out it didn't have nothing to do with you. You. This is for believers. If you're a believer, and it's just factual. And so I don't think Deion doesn't realize that, and I just think at our age,
nothing to do with this. It's already written. You just got to live it.
No, it's not written. But dude, I'm so flawed and so messed up and so.
Oh no, I'm born in the sin. I got that part.
I'm so unworthy.
I only need faith as big as a mustard seed. I'm fine. You talk about a belief? No, come on. I was raised in the church. You beat me to Sunday school and you meet me at church.
Here's what happens, though. Here's what happens with great athletes. It literally, though, I mean, you have so much success, you get so much adulation, you get so that it clouds things, and you do start believing. You make your own self an idol. You make your own, and it's called idolatry. You make your own self an idol. I've been through it to a lesser level. To a far lesser level, but again, had a lot of success.
Y'all almost won.
So wait a minute. No, I'm talking about as a journalist. As a journalist,
I'm just checking.
I'm a Hall of Fame journalist, sports journalist. I'm a Hall of Fame sports journalist.
They got one of those?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. And I've been through that mental deal where I thought I would, man, I'm it. Look, mama, daddy, everybody counting on me. Blah blah blah.
Have there been?
It ain't me.
Have there been coaches in the NFL that you think that have been non-players that are guilty of that same thing that had success?
Guilty of the coaches are arrogant. Yes, all of them. Even Bill Belichick's arrogant.
Absolutely.
He's had a ton of success.
That's the only way you're gonna be successful, though.
I know,
but the way you pick a rugby player in the third round and play like it's something that's good for the team.
The smart ones are at war with their arrogance. Deion is leaning into his arrogance and confidence. He thinks it's what makes him successful. That's a mistake.
I think you need to visit him. You ain't seen him in a while, have you?
Well, no, I haven't. And
you
so,
need to go visit him.
And so all I can do is look at his post-game press conference. He came into his post-game press conference,
with receipts.
Sat down, screaming receipts, then sat down and started talking about his kid, Shador, and then and then himself, and then finally, and then he started picking on Ed Werder and other people in the media and all this other stuff. And finally, he got around to by Monday when he started going on Skip Bayless's show and Pat McAfee. He finally got around by Monday, started talking about the kids, everybody else. And Deion is well-intentioned. But what happens and you guys know it because y'all have had a lot of success. You've been star athletes in junior high, high school, college, pros. And when you're paying all the bills, people don't question much of what you do. And it can create an arrogance that you need to be humbled from. And so there's, and because I've been through it. I've needed to be humbled greatly and very
You're a bad child too, so it might,
that's what I'm saying.
It might all be in one big cylinder here. You're just spinning around.
Needed to be and that's all I'm saying. For long-term sustainable success, that arrogance is going to bite Deion in the rear end, in my opinion. I'm rooting for him. I hope that he finds this humility. I hope he hears me if he happens to hear this in context. I would love for Deion. You know who I had a very negative opinion of for years? Michael Irvin. And then I sat down with Mike, and I'm like, oh, my God.
That dude's passionate
about
everything.
Yes. And he's authentic. And I get all the flaws, because every mistake that Michael Irvin ever made in his life, I'm very capable of having made that mistake. Every last one.
We all are.
And so I love Michael Irvin. After sitting him down with him and seeing where he's from, I've sat down with Deion. Because, me and Deion have had disagreements over the years, I've sat down with Deion. I think Deion's well-intentioned, but he's still drunk on his success, and I get why. Okay. I get why, but I hope he comes out of it. We can all recover from it. Dude, I mean, and again, on this show, and this Seth done said it, and you know, I always keep it real. And that's why I'm glad. I mean, this conversation's been awesome. It's everything that I dreamed about. Yeah, everything from all of you. Because I do want to just have a real, but if you listen to the show, man, Sapp, I talk about it all. I used to live in strip clubs. I used to live chasing 25-year-old. You know, I used to, you know, and I talk about all of it. And I needed to be snapped out of that and humbled. And I left L.A. and a lot of money on the table because I needed to get right.
It's okay.
Can I make this analogy? Yeah. You know, a leopard might never change his spots, but he does shed a couple of times in his lifetime. Okay? So while Deion might not be able to change his spots, you know, the transformation, you know, he's seen it up close and personal. The one thing he's passionate about what he does. He's passionate about these kids. And I believe he's going to upset the apple cart of NCAA football, because he's going to start snatching more of those top 150 athletes, and it's going to piss off Georgia and Alabama and everybody else in college football.
Did you see what ATM brother said?
Who?
ATM from
no.
Jacksonville?
No.
His little brother
he told his little brother. Yeah.
So you might need to go see Prime.
See, because, you know, what Deion is going to, and listen, I've been on teams before where we had the horses, you know, and we were rocking and rolling. And then when Jerome passed away and Reggie left and, you know, we started losing players, it was like, man, you know, we in the race, but we ain't got the horses. We can't compete, you know. I love Tim Harris, man, but they brought Tim Harris in to replace Reggie. And Tim Harris talked more garbage than Chris Carter, okay? Yeah. And we playing on the same side now, because I played next to Reggie for like
Shut up and play.
like eight years of my career. And he is just I mean, he just, and they dragging his ass 10 yards down the field. I'm like, Tim, shut up, man. You understand what I'm saying? I'm like, will you please be quiet? You know, so they run the ball to the other side. We need a break over here, you know. But it's like, you know, when you're talking about horses, man, you got to have horses. Now, he's going to have the benefit of a great coaching staff and the benefit of horses. He's going to have all the horses he needs, man. Yeah. And that's going to be unstoppable, man. That's going to be unstoppable. I'm telling you right now. He is upsetting the apple cart. And you know why I love it? I love it because everybody believes the ex-players can't play the game. Can't coach the game. How is it that I can play the game for 13 years, okay? That I can sit under 5 of the greatest minds that ever coached in the National Football League? Buddy Ryan, Bud Carson. For y'all who don't know who Bud Carson is, Bud Carson was a defense coordinator. No, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking. Bud Carson was the defense coordinator of the Steel Curtain, okay? I played for Fritz Shermer, okay? I played for.
Let me give you the answer to what you. Let me give you the other side of that argument, and because I get what you're thinking. In the sports writing lane, I'm telling you, in the sports writing thing, I'm on y'all's level. I'm a terrible editor because people will send me their work, and I can see all the flaws in it. And I don't have the patience to wait on them to fix it. I'll tell them what to do, and so you know what I just do? I just jump in there and rewrite it, fix it up myself, and just sit there and say, man, I ain't got time for this.
That's the word.
I'm a terrible editor. Now, you'll get some work under your name that will look like, and people will be like, man, this dude is cold-blooded, or this girl is cold-blooded. I've rewritten a lot of work. And so I'm a terrible editor. And so I think sometimes when you're a great player, the answers come so quick for you, and you look at a player that's not as great as you, and he's like, what you mean, you can't figure this out?
Patience.
And that's why people like Bill Belichick, who is not any good, was undersized, played in some little small he has that patience. Because he
got it now, though. He got it now.
Oh, he didn't have it back in the day.
If you go, if you go and you sit with LT and you sit with Carl Banks and you sit with Leonard Marshall and you talk to them guys about Bill Belichick back in the day.
Horrible.
When they were winning Super Bowls with that defense, he was horrible.
He had no
Listen, you talk about patience, okay?
patience. None.
I mean,
They were
listen,
loaded with horses.
But that's the other thing too, Brett. They was loaded. But my thing is, you know, when you live in that world, see, I've been on teams, man, where coaches have made it all about them. You know, it's like when you read a coach's bio, the coach's bio talks about the fact that, you know, I made Brett Favre a Pro Bowler, you know, a Hall of Famer. Well, that kind of minimizes the work that he put in, you know. So what's a coach's job? A coach's job is to, you know, a coach's job is manifold, you know. I learned that as a youth coach because I had some kids that didn't have a father figure. So for 2 hours every day, I was their father, okay? I had kids who wasn't confident, so I had to soup them up and pump them up. I had kids that needed to be kicked in the behind, so I had to learn each and every kid. My son was the same way. You know, he wouldn't play until I got in his behind. I piss him off and make him cry, he'd set the world on fire. So being a coach is learning each and every one of your players and trying to figure out how you motivate them and then having the right coaches around you to teach. And that's the thing that I see missing from football today is technique and fundamentals, okay? Because when I see a outside linebacker lined up with the wrong foot up, man, it drives me insane. Because I wasn't allowed to play like that, even though my right foot was my strong foot. If I'm on the right side, and guess what? That right foot better be back.
Got to be back.
Because if they bring that other tight end over, or they crack and they toss it and I can't contain the ball, we got a problem. You know? So all of this stuff, man, it's like Deion's in a unique position because he understands football. And he got coaches that understands the fundamentals and the techniques of football. And he's going to get the best players. And he's going to turn college football upside down. I'm telling you right now, man. I'm telling you.
Take 2 seconds, each of you, and we got to go. Start playing tomorrow and freedom because we've gone overboard. Who's winning tonight's game, Chiefs-Lions? Just 2 seconds, each of you.
Chiefs.
Chiefs. Even though the Lions have got something going on.
Do they? Where did you see it at?
Last year.
Yeah.
Last year, your pass.
They were loving
your
playing together.
I'm not buying Detroit. I love the roster. I don't love the quarterback. There's a reason why that trade was made.
Hello.
Because
Look. All these guys think they know football. Trust Jason Whitlock, the sports writer, the sports journalist. I'm a Chiefs fan.
What did Mom say?
The Lions are winning tonight.
What did Mom say?
These all-time great football players, they don't know anything.
Yeah,
I know it all. I know it all.
What did your mother say?
The Lions are winning.
Your mother said the Chiefs too.
Well, I know, but
Bet 100
she's
on
a Chiefs
that.
fan.
Bet 100 on that.
Bet.
Give me that. Let me get that.
You're saying Lions?
Yeah, Lions. Yeah.
Get that 100. You got it. I mean, that's easy money.
I think it'll be a good game.
My audience knows who knows the most about football on this panel.
in Kansas City,
Who's the best-looking guy on this panel? I mean, the guy that knows the most about football. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Oh, no.
Looking like it's my time, feeling all kinds of free. These words are our religion, all regrets and our decisions. We all wanna go to heaven with freedom. It's my obligation, no hate, discrimination. Raising up your hands for freedom. Raise up your hands for freedom. I wanna be,